Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 93, Gone in 60 Seconds from 1974. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Ford. Nothing short of astounding. At the heart of every Mustang is a high-powered engine. Mustang offers 5 available engines, including the 5.2-liter supercharged V8, the most powerful street-legal Ford production engine ever. Thank you, Ford.
Oof, Ford. I mean, they have come back a couple times this lap, but, when there's a movie that's all about the Mustang, like the Eleanor in this movie, how can you not?
Yeah, it's like Dodge, man. Well, there was a Charger in this movie, too.
Of course, they steal 48 cars, right? So there's a lot of different things. We don't see them all, but there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, I have a cool fact on that, too, that I know you didn't catch, so I can't wait to tell you.
If it's about cars, I did not catch it.
I know you didn't.
Cool. Well, since we last recorded our Italian Job episode, since we are kicking it old school this lap and we are going back this week to the originals of the early 2000s car remake movies, what have you been up to, Joe? Extracurricular activities since Wednesday, since we last chatted. What have you been up to?
We recorded an episode of Foodie Films with the foodie man
all over the place.
I know. Rachel was on it too. She's in high demand lately. So we recorded an episode of Foodie Films. It probably comes out soon. I think Kyle releases his episodes really quick after he records them, right?
I think the ones that are about movies come out pretty quick. So I'm guessing it would probably be this week. Actually, let me message him while we're doing this. But talk about it if you. I don't know if you. I'm sure he doesn't care about spoilers.
No, he said it. So yeah, we covered Mystic Pizza because obviously Rachel and I live in Connecticut and we love pizza. So we talked about that movie, and also we just talked about all kinds of random food stuff. I had a blast. It was a great time. So if you're looking for something else to listen to and you want to hear me talk about pizza more than I normally talk about it here, go listen to the Foodie Films episode about Mystic Pizza.
That was the first movie in my Julia Roberts binge last year.
Oh, really? I had never seen it.
When I watched 5. I'd never seen it before last year either.
Cool.
And then I went to talk about it with all the other things that I watched on past guest of this show, Michael DeManico's podcast, Not Her Again. And so we talked about all the things that I watched. But yeah, I loved 2/3 of that movie. I loved the Julia Roberts stuff, and I don't remember the other actresses'
The JoJo
name,
stuff?
Yes, but the Annabeth Gish,
the cat,
in a relationship with the older man, I was like, nah, I'm good.
That's pretty much how we felt about it too.
2/3 of it's amazing, and then that's just ugh.
It also could have been a really cute babysitting story and didn't need to be a romantic relationship, but sure. It was gonna be I was like, are they really gonna ruin this with them hooking up? From the beginning, when I was watching it with Rachel, I was like, oh god, they're gonna hook up, aren't they? This is terrible. And then yep, that's what happened.
Oh right, and also surprise Matt Damon at that one dinner scene, right?
Yeah, surprise Matt Damon, young Matt Damon at the end.
A quick update: Kyle says your episode will come out June 3rd, so not this past Wednesday, but in 2 Wednesdays from now, June 3rd, your episode will be out.
Okay, cool. The other thing is, as you know, you got your Lego Dom's Charger, and Rachel got hers, so she started building it last night, and we actually watched the first Fast and the Furious as she was building it. It's pretty cool so far. She's a couple bags through it, 1.5 or something, but there's a bajillion pieces.
Yeah, I have not started yet. There's 1,000, I think. 1,027, 1,029. It was a number that reminded me of 1327.
But not
there should have been 1327.
Yeah, it's 1,100 and something, I think. What does it say on the box?
Yeah.
1077.
1077. Okay, so I knew that there were 2 numbers, the 1 and the 7, were just oh, okay. If it was 1,041, I would have been all right, whatever. But the fact that it was 13, or almost, whatever.
1327, yeah. It should have been 1327. You don't think they could have put 200, different dumb shits in there to figure it out? They really dropped the bag on that one.
I have not started mine yet. I will at some point. I'm just I'm not in the Lego mode, whatever. So she's been on a Lego kick. So she's been building it each week, right? So
yeah, pretty much. So have you built a set before?
I built back the Legos that I had. I had sets. I think we talked about this forever ago.
We did. You said that you had
I had
some from your friend.
Space Station. Yeah, we had Space Station, the space Legos. I have the books and the guides and whatever, but there's the space stations and there's the shuttles and the spaceships and everything like that. So I had those from the 80s. But not since then. I don't think I've paid for Legos. This might have been the first Legos that I paid for ever.
It's a doozy of a starting one, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Rachel says be careful. There's lots of different little things, so yeah, just be mindful when you're building it. If you're not accustomed to the intricacies of it, it can be kind of goofy.
Good to keep in mind. Anything else? Any trash TV?
No, what we've been watching? No, we haven't been watching any trash TV. Tonight is gonna be the finale of Before the 90 Days, so I'm excited for that. We haven't been watching too much TV or movies for that. I mean, like I said, we watched Mystic Pizza for Kyle's, and that was about it. I watched.
Cool.
Oh, dude, sports were back. I was watching German soccer the other day.
Bundesliga.
Bundesliga, yeah. So I was watching that. Feels good to be getting back. The NHL is supposed to make an announcement this week.
What do you think they're going to announce? I mean, I guess it's weird because it will have already happened by the time this comes out, but
I have no idea because you have to remember that it's like multi country, right? So like they have to be in agreement with Canada too.
that's the weird thing about baseball. It's like it's 29 American teams and then the Blue Jays, and it's like, oh, okay. Like, but they have to still cooperate with, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
the Blue Jays just can't either. But like they're saying that everybody's gonna play at home. I don't know.
Like imagine if like Canada's just like nope, Blue Jays can't play. Like what do they have to like forfeit their season?
Have they reopened the borders between U.S. and Canada or no?
I have no idea. I haven't been paying
Me either.
attention.
This is not a politics podcast yet until
The
Mr.
Rock
The Rock
wins.
runs for president.
Exactly. I think that they're going to announce that like the NHL was saying that they were trying to finish out the season, but they might just start in the playoffs because they played like 75% of the games. So they might just like start in the first round of the playoffs.
What I had heard about the NBA, and this was a couple of weeks ago, so I don't know if this is even still the plan or if this was just a rumor or what it was they were going to finish their season like over the summer and then start next season later.
Yeah, the NHL was talking about something like that too. It's all these like rumors, like what could
Who
happen.
knows?
Who knows? We'll wait and see what they say.
I'm still not optimistic. I mean, I would like anything back, right? But at this point, just make sure that people are safe. It would just be devastating if like a whole bunch of athletes got sick and then some of them died. Like that would be
I
terrible.
was just listening to Coward, and he said you have to remember that like these athletes, like if they're traveling, they're gonna be like thousands of miles away from their families. They're in high contact with other people. If they go home, they have to kind of self quarantine or get their families like the possibility of getting
Right.
their family sick. Like they're putting themselves in a lot of risk. So
When baseball was like, let's do a whole spring training where like we quarantine all of the people and all their families and all of the staff and all their families, it's like that's like thousands or tens of thousands. Like how are you going to do that? Like that's not feasible.
no, it's absolutely not. Like, what are you gonna be like? Okay, grandma, dog. Like every uncle that comes to visit for a game, like they have to all be quarantined together, and then they can't leave and go back to work. Like it just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Since we last recorded, I've just been watching a lot of things. I have not watched any TV, so no Rick and Morty yet, no Middleditch and Schwartz yet. But
Okay.
I watched a handful of movies. I watched one, and I want you to watch this, but I
What?
don't want to tell you really what it's about. But
Don't
it's
tell
a
me what it's
movie
about. Go ahead.
called Miracle Mile, and it's from 1988.
Miracle Run?
Miracle Mile. Not Miracle Run, the Zeph movie, but Miracle Mile. It's a movie that we were talking about that Bob from Tub Talk had suggested putting on the bracket for the 80s action, which the brackets are still open now, cageclub.me/bracket. And he's like, we can't put this on here because nobody's seen this movie. But he rewatched it. He's like, oh no, that movie still rules. And so I watched it and I loved it.
Really?
And I don't want to tell you what it's about. Don't even read about it. Like, don't even read the one
I've
sentence.
heard this name before, and
Miracle Mile is a stretch in LA. Like it's just an area of LA.
Okay.
And so that's where this movie takes place.
Okay.
Don't even read like the one sentence like IMDb description. I don't want to tell you anything about it. It's
Okay.
know that it would have been in our action bracket because that's like the only context I really had for it. It's insane. Like I've never seen a movie like this. It's very weird.
Okay.
Very kind of not an indie movie because I feel like I don't know how like the scale. I don't know. I'm not gonna say anymore.
Go ahead.
Miracle Mile. Go into it blind.
Cool.
It's just a very weird, crazy action-ish movie. So I
watch
recommend that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll watch it for sure.
I watched a bunch of other movies. Nothing really notable to write home about. And then what was the other thing? Oh, I was telling you before we started recording that I went to the grocery store yesterday for the first time in 26 days.
Congrats.
It broke my record because I had gone, I think it was like 21 days. Like I went.
Do you plan? You're such a planner. Are you like, okay, like this is
Not
2 meals worth of
really.
spaghetti. This is this. That'll get me 25 days worth of meals. Like I could definitely
No,
see you
not,
doing this.
not really. So what I did, I went right around when quarantine started. Then I went like 3 weeks later. I think it was 21 days, then 24 days, then 26 days. I'm just kind of stretching. But like what I do is I'm not eating a bunch of different things, but I'm just buying things like to make chill. Like yesterday, the reason I spent $350 at the grocery store for one person's food is because I basically bought double meat of everything. So when I buy ground turkey for turkey chili, I have one in the fridge now, but I also have an extra in the freezer.
Yep.
And I bought ground chicken for tacos, and I have one in the fridge, but I also have one in the freezer.
Yep.
I'm not really planning like, okay, this is how I get, 24 meals, which is what I need for these 12 days or whatever. It's not like
I
that,
was
but it's just more
saying
like,
that I know, but I was just saying I could imagine you doing that, right?
oh yeah, no, but it's similar. It's just like I need like I basically ran out of a lot of things, and I was saying to you like I ran out of snacks like 7 days ago, and so I was just like, what do I eat when I'm just like hungry in the afternoon? Like I was like, I don't like I was just
Dude,
weird, like weird shit was happening.
strangely, like when it started, Rachel and I bought a bunch of snacks, like chips and stuff like that, and like we haven't eaten any of them. Like we
Oh,
haven't snacked at all. It's so strange. Like normally, like we would, I guess, but like during quarantine, we're just like nah. Candy and like I have like a big jar of M&Ms I bought, like peanut M&Ms. I've been going through like either like a bag of Red Vines or Sour Patch Kids or gummy bears a week.
do you remember remember when I came up that one New Year's and we just went to BJ's and we just bought so many Sour Patch Kids? It's just like way too many, like way too many
That's
Sour
not
Patch
too
Kids. And we just bought
many.
all the sandy candy, sour candy,
Oh yeah.
and it was great.
Yeah, but that was a good box. That
Oh
was
yeah,
watermelon, sour patches, and Swedish fish
yeah.
mixed, right?
Like I don't snack a lot, but when it's the afternoon, I'm not ready for dinner yet, or like at night when I'm watching a movie, I'm just like I want something, and like whether it's like fruit, and like that's the downside to only going to the grocery store every 3 or 4 weeks is that
Yes.
like produce doesn't really last.
Nope.
I have right now, I have a bunch of apples and bananas and carrots and tomatoes and spinach and all the stuff that I'm going to eat in the next like week or two, and then it's like, all right, here's just a bunch of like chips and pretzels and stuff or whatever. But because I don't really like going to the grocery store anyway, and now that there's like an ordeal to it, although I went because I was like, I don't really want to go on the weekend. Like I feel like a Saturday morning could be terrible.
Could be awful.
But I was
Yeah.
like, let me just drive by it and just see what it looks like. And the parking lot looked normal compared to when I've gone the last few times. So I was like, that's fine. And I go in there and it's not crowded. I actually didn't wait at all for the cashier. Like I don't know if they had more cashiers or it was just like it was good timing. They had just gotten in a shipment, and so like this like every shelf was full. Like there's nothing that
Oh,
I was
that's
like I
cool.
want this and I don't have it except for hand soap. But like I think hand soap is just sold out everywhere forever now.
Yeah, there's no Clorox wipes anywhere either here. Like we've looked
Yeah.
every time.
All the food stuff that I've wanted the last couple trips, there's always been a few things like I'm just like they ran out of black beans or they ran out of spinach,
Hmm.
they ran out of whatever, right? But like this, like everything was there. It's like, oh, this is kind of perfect timing.
Yeah,
So
I
that
actually
was
went
good.
Thursday for because your same reason. Like Thursday, I was like sitting at work and it was getting late, and I was like getting antsy. I was like, Rachel, we got to go to the store Thursday because like we went on like one Saturday once, and I was like, I can't fucking do this again. Like I don't know why you assholes are home all the time. And like nobody decided to go to the store during the week
Right.
when
Yeah.
everybody's home on quarantine. Like just pick a random day during the week to go. But like no, everybody waited till Saturday morning, like they were working all week to go to the like.
Yeah, because I could have maybe, probably, possibly gotten through the weekend, or I would have had takeout or whatever. Because it's
Yeah.
not, I can make do. But I was just like, let me just see. And I was like, actually, that wasn't bad. I also realized, and I had heard about this, but I had not seen it yet. But my shop, right, they don't have the one in, one out. Like you just go there whenever you're there, you just go in, right?
Okay.
It was like the first of my two ShopRite trips yesterday. I spent like $308 or something, right? Like literally a cart. I could not put more things in.
Yeah.
When I had bagged everything and I was bringing to my car, I had to hold bags in my hand because they didn't fit in the cart. Like it just,
Damn.
I
Okay.
was filled to the gills.
Yep.
I forgot some things because of course I did, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to Walmart because like it's probably gonna be cheaper. It's gonna have everything I need. I don't know, I know
Yeah.
that there's probably not soap or whatever at my shop, right? But maybe Walmart will have it. And I go to my Walmart and they have there, which is what I was saying I had heard but I hadn't seen, the one in, one out. And there's like a line of people, and I'm sure it happens quickly. Like I'm sure there's people always coming in
It's
and
very
out, but
quick.
like
Yeah.
I don't want to like wait online. I was like, let me just go back to ShopRite where I can just like go in, which was fine. I was like, oh, like there's policies in place that I guess because I'm in a different neighborhood and it's not at,
Or
and
it's
maybe it's a,
Walmart corporate policy because we have it at our Walmart here too.
and I know that like in LA, like I've heard about like Target in LA. I'm sure Target here too probably has it too. I don't know, but and I guess I don't think ShopRite's national, right? ShopRite's just like a regional grocery
Yeah.
store.
Usually most of the grocery stores are regional.
Yeah, ShopRite is a pretty big. I mean,
It's
it's not
big.
like it's not cheap. Like
No, it's a normal
it's
grocery store.
yeah.
I don't go to any of these grocery stores. I was just saying this, like, we game airline miles, and somebody posted in one of the groups, like, oh, like, look, this card is giving you, like, bonuses at supermarkets. And I was like, oh, man, I'm, like, sad that I never go to anything that's considered a supermarket. And somebody was like, you don't go to the grocery store ever? And I was like, no, dumbass. Like, what I was trying to say is that, like, I either go to, like, my butcher shop,
Hmm.
like, the fish store, BJ's or Walmart, and none of those are considered a grocery store for your card, right? So
Right.
I never actually go to a grocery store. It's always like something very close but adjacent.
Yeah, like for a while I was doing most of my shopping at Target because I wasn't buying a ton of fresh stuff, but I was
Yeah,
just able to like get, they have fresh meat there, and not like fresh, like they don't have like a butcher's shop, but they can get like ground beef or whatever,
yeah.
whatever, all the packaged stuff they have there. But then ShopRite is in my town. It's like a 3-minute drive, and I'm just like, what? Like this is fine. Like I never really grew up going to ShopRite. Like there were other grocery stores in my town, like the
Yeah.
one that I worked at, another one. But like it's all the same. It's all gonna
It's all
even
the
out in
same
the end. It
shit.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all the same shit. Yeah.
And it's the devil that I know, and I know now I know I've been there enough times, like I know where stuff is, and I can navigate the things quickly, and I know basically what the things I buy, what they should cost.
It's the worst when you go to a grocery store that you're not used to.
It's so confusing. And like Walmart's, I think are especially bad with that. Like Walmart's and like Targets, where it's just like because it feels like when you go into one of those, you're like, this feels uniform, right? It's like this
It
feels like
does.
how everyone is laid out, and then you go to another one, you're like, oh no, these aren't the same at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's all I've been doing, basically. I have
Cool.
more things to watch tonight. Who knows what I'm going to get to, but The Last Dance ends tonight. I'm still a couple episodes back. I know that Jake was messaging me a while
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
I've only seen 4 of 8 that have aired, and then 9 and 10 and air tonight.
Oh, cool.
So if you're looking to watch that now, I mean, I know that Rachel doesn't, you're trying to avoid it for Rachel or whatever, but
Yeah.
tonight it actually concludes. So the 10 hours will be out by the time this comes out, so give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm trying. I need to like work it in somehow where she won't notice.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. Like, you go to work, but she's not going to work, and so there's no time where it's just you, right? So, you have to.
Exactly.
I get it. I mean, I don't have to deal with it, but I get it. We have a Patreon page here on the show, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenin, Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbes, Wes Hampton, and Christian Larson for all supporting us at the $5 level or above. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Larson sent me a message today on Facebook saying he got his letter and stickers, and it made him
Cool.
smile, and he was going to send in his movie picks for next lap. So if you
Nice.
are out there, you have not sent in your movie picks, because everybody who's at a $10 level gets 2 picks this year. So if you've sent in one for this lap, you get a bonus one for next lap. If you've not sent in any for this lap, like our newer $10, like Brian and Larson and Haley and whatever, get 2 for next lap. So if you've not sent them in, do that. If you're not a patron yet and you want to cover, if you want to know the theme for next lap and pick 2 movies that fit in that theme, toofast2forever.com.
Yeah,
Now's
just
the
holler
perfect
at
time.
us.
Because we're like 2 months away, I want to say. So the fast, as of right now, lap 7 kicks off July 14th. So we're a little under 2 months away. But, that's not that far away in terms of like planning and stuff. So if you want to get your picks in, get your picks in.
Amen.
We also have an email address here on the show, family@cageclub.me. And Joe, we've got, couple emails. I don't really have a good count. I want to say that people have been taking the quiz. You and I have taken our quiz. I know
Oh,
that Nick
yeah.
took the quiz as well. You and I both got the same score.
That's crazy. And oh, yeah, we got the
And
exact
it's
same
not
score.
a great, I mean, it's a good score, but it's not a great score.
No, we got 58 out of 63. We made this quiz.
But I think you and I also got like 3 of the same questions wrong, I think.
we got 3 of the same questions wrong too, and ones that we knew we've talked about. I mean, we've obviously talked about all of them, but there's like ones that we were like, oh yeah, we've definitely talked about this. Still fucked it up. Not only that, I was watching the movie while taking it last night, so like I had everything going for me, and I got a 58 out of 63.
Well, I was thinking that, but also as you're watching the movie, you're not watching the movie to count the number of candles or to think about like what's Tram's
No.
auto body shop actually called. Like it's things that are
And also, like, I
nitpicky,
took it in
but
the
not-
middle. It, like, if you would, like, take it, like, minute by minute, like, and pause, I wasn't doing that. It just, I had the movie on in the background, and I was, like, halfway through it when I started taking the quiz, and I was like, oh, I'm still getting shit wrong.
Well, the exciting thing about this minute today, other than it being a good minute, and we'll get to that soon, is that we've now completed the first hour of the movie. This
I
is
know, I
minute
was
60
excited.
today.
I was very excited to see that, too.
Hector then sent in a car picture, which we will save. We've got a bunch of pictures from Hector, so we got to go through those at some point. But Hector also sent in another email, and this is something that we, just based on the release schedule, something that we have already corrected, but
Okay.
that correction, as we're recording this, is not out yet. Subject line, answer to movie familiarity. Says, hey, Joey's. When Joey asked about what other movie did the chain prank, it reminded me of Gone in 60 Seconds,
Yep.
the Angelina Jolie one. They did it when Memphis's brother chained the car of the gangbangers. That's all. Stay fast, stay furious.
You were
Which,
100% right, and we talk about it because the Mikester saved us in the episode
yep,
of American Graffiti that came out. Or
yeah.
no, what was it? Or,
No. We were confused on American Graffiti, which is the episode that just came out on Friday. But then
yes.
on the Italian Job episode, which came out Tuesday, but is not out at the time of this recording or at the time of Hector's email, we corrected it then. So
Yes. But Hector's
we're
right.
living in a
So
limbo.
he gets credit too. Definitely.
And then we have one other email today, and this is one that you knew it happened, but you did not know the email. Subject line, she's here, from Ben Milliman.
Ooh. What's up, Ben? Go ahead. I know what the story is, but tell us.
He says, Lila was born today. We woke up at 2 a.m.
Ugh.
because Linny's water broke. We went to the
Oof.
hospital around 7:45 a.m. She was born. That's a quick turnaround.
That is pretty quick, right? I think that's pretty quick. I'm not sure, but I feel like it usually drags on a little bit longer than that. 6 hours?
I think, like, I've heard, labor being, like, I
Eight-
guess maybe
8 to 10?
lengthy labor, but, like, or even longer, like 16 sometimes, right? Like, long.
Yeah.
But six is quick.
6 is quick. You're in and out. There's like a drive-through. That's good. I like that.
Ben says, I honestly thought the birth was going to be a lot more gross, but it wasn't that bad. The only jarring part was when Lila's head came out and two nurses pulled Linny's legs back really far, and another one got on top of her and pushed a fist into her lower stomach. It was not expected. LOL. That's crazy.
I studied a lot of science things, and I studied a lot of biology. There are times where we would see, like, surgeries, right? You always, like, imagine that there's, like, a very delicate touch to, like, a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I've seen, like, some, like, knee surgeries and stuff like that, and they're fucking gruesome. They're like butchers, right? Like, they're just, like, going at it. It's like, when you see some of this stuff, you're like, holy fuck, like, that's how they do that? Like, this guy's, like, yanking his ankle and shit. There's, like, a guy with, like, his
boy.
leg over his shoulder. I can see that it being like that. I've never watched a birth. That would be a really jarring experience if you see this like lady climb on top of your wife and
And just like punching her in the stomach.
Yeah, like
I guess
pushing her
that's a
stomach.
testament though to the resiliency of the human body, right? Like that you can just
Yeah.
like yank tendons or just like punch stomachs. Be like, no, it's medically proven to like it works.
The other side of that is it's the testament to like how far we have to go in medicine.
Oh,
when,
sure.
Like these are the things that we're still doing, right? Like it's like, is there not a better way to do this? Like
There's gotta be a better way.
there's got to be a better way. That's a funny story though. Thanks for the laugh, Ben. That
He
was
says,
good.
but Lila's out and healthy. She's 8 pounds, 8 ounces, and 20 3/4 inch long. I really felt bad for Linny because everything happened so fast that she wasn't able to get an epidural or anything, so she felt it
Wow.
all. I would never be able to do anything like that.
Oh.
LOL.
No, as men, I don't think we'll ever be able to do something like that or handle anything like that. I can't imagine
Yeah.
it. Not for me.
But shout out, I put this on Twitter. I just said, our family got a little bit bigger.
Yep.
Ben's new profile picture on Twitter is him holding his daughter, so
I
it's
know,
beautiful.
it's awesome. It's so cute. I really liked it too.
Shout out to Ben and Linny
Lila.
and Lila, and let us know which Fast and Furious movie you're going to show her first. Are you going to start her in the beginning? You're going to show her different? Are you going to show her 5? What are you going to do? I mean,
3? Are you gonna bring her into Tokyo? Do you want her to learn a different language? Is she gonna be like, or maybe 6, and she can be a woman of the world.
a citizen of the world. Or 6, you could show when Mia gives birth. You could be like the baby movie, right? So
It can be, yeah. That's right. I'm curious.
but that's all the emails for today. If you want to email us, family@cageclub.me, let us know what's on your mind. Write in. Always happy to hear from you. We'll read it on the next episode. Or
Yeah,
if you don't want to
congrats,
write
Ben.
in, but you want to still write something, go to iTunes, leave us a review, please and thank you.
Please.
Joe, on the streets, I actually have 2 things that are sort of tangentially related.
Okay, go ahead. I think I know the one.
I put one on
Yep.
our Facebook page.
Yeah, I
and
think I know that
so
one. Yep, go ahead.
There is a movie that's coming out. Dwayne Johnson, Hobbs himself,
The Rock.
and Emily Blunt teamed up for Disney's Jungle Cruise, which is supposed to come out next year. I don't remember if it got delayed. It was supposed to be this year. It was always going to be next year, but I think it's supposed to come out next year. But
Okay.
they just announced that Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt superhero movie, Ball and Chain, lands at Netflix. So they're teaming up for another movie. It's a superhero movie coming to Netflix, and maybe even more exciting to me than
What?
The Rock being in it is that it's written by Emily V. Gordon, who is Kumail Nanjiani's wife.
Oh,
She's the
that's
co-host of the
cool.
Indoor Kids podcast.
Oh, that's
She
cool.
wrote, like, the movie The Big Sick is about her. She wrote
That one I knew,
movie
yeah.
with Kumail. Like, she's amazing and she's wonderful, and the fact that she's writing this movie, even if it was all actors I hadn't known, like, I'd still be excited for this movie. But the fact that we have 2 people in there that I love and it's coming to Netflix, it's like, this is all great. This is all really good stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. We love seeing The Rock play like a superhero, because even Hobbs is kind of a superhero, right?
Sure.
So, and it's Jim from The Office's wife, right?
Yes.
We'll definitely watch it. We'll definitely talk about it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
can't wait for it to happen. More rock content for us is always a good thing.
Hardest working man in show business.
Amen. Shout out Nate Milton.
And then the other news story that we have, I did not post this, but a
What?
movie that we did not cover last lap. If quarantine had been last lap, well, we did Brian O'Connor movies, we did Paul Walker movies, we would have covered this. But Running Scared director, he was in. Paul Walker starred in a remake of Running Scared, which I think came out in like '05, '06. Running Scared director proposes a big change for Rotten Tomatoes. Filmmakers get an appeal on ratings after 10 years.
Oh, in what sense? Like, you can be like, hey, I know that this wasn't reviewed well when it first came out, but now it's a cult classic, so like fix it.
Yes, exactly. So,
Interesting.
because Rotten Tomatoes is so trusted by so many people, and I've said on here a lot that I think that Rotten Tomatoes is kind of a
It's too
broken system.
binary.
Yes, that I think Metacritic is better because you could say a movie is good. A good movie at like a 70% is the same thing as a movie at 100%, right? So like that
Yes.
doesn't make sense to me. They're both good movies, but like one is very clearly like a better movie, right?
Yeah.
But Wayne Kramer, who directed Running Scared, laid out a proposal to change the way things work, saying that after a film's been out for 10 years, filmmakers have the ability to lodge an appeal and have their movies be reconsidered. Here's an idea for Rotten Tomatoes, he writes. If it's over 10 years old and it has more than a 6.5 on IMDb, it takes a decade or longer to know the real impact of a film, and I'm sure quite a few critics might reverse themselves after 10 years. I've heard from
Interesting.
several critics who feel that they got it wrong on Running Scared and might consider it differently today. Unfortunately, their original score is still shackled to the film and RT, and every filmmaker knows that an RT rotten score is worn by the film and a filmmaker like a scarlet letter.
That's true. I never thought about it, but like, yeah, you might make like a really cutting edge film, and it comes out, Rotten Tomatoes slams it because a few critics said it was bad, and then like in context they're like, oh shit, no, like everybody loved it, and like after we watch it a couple times, it's good. Yeah, he has a point. I like it.
The Rotten Tomatoes score, he writes, is visible on most streaming sites next to the title of a film, and I personally find it insulting. I've never been a fan of Rotten Tomatoes. I hold firmly that the site's contributed to the dumbing down of movie criticism and ultimately movies themselves. When a film
Interesting.
is judged like a gladiator in the ring, with the emperor giving it a very black and white thumbs up or thumbs down, compounded by occasional critics' herd mentality, which, trust me, is real,
Yep.
then all the nuance involved in reviewing goes out the window.
You know what? I kind of like that in a sense to make this about us that we have no like stake in the game. So like if we talk about a movie, like we can be like we like this or we didn't like this, and we can dissent each other or the critics or whatever. You know, if this was your livelihood and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I loved Scoob, like whatever, you could like people would be like, oh fuck that guy, like that movie was trash, like I'm never reading his column again. You hurt yourself and your own livelihood by doing this. So
Like, I found personally that a lot of my favorite movies tend to be around 50% on Rotten Tomatoes because it's like people don't know what to make of it.
yeah,
And especially if you come to it after the fact, you're like, oh, no, I get it.
and you know my rating system.
Oh, yeah, the lower the better.
No, it's like I
Oh,
want
no, under 20 or over 90.
under 20 or over 80. Yeah, like that's
Over 80, yep.
I like the middle range is the one that like I don't like because I'm like this could just be like a movie. Like I want
Yeah.
something that's either like really good or people hate.
He does a few examples here. He says Scarface has an 81 on the tomato meter, but that's a revisionist review, he writes. It was trounced by critics in its initial release in 83.
Oh,
He says Tony Scott's Man on Fire, one of the finest crime action films of all time, that's the Denzel Washington movie.
I'm not the man on fire. The Chris D'Elia joke. You are not the man. Do you know this?
No.
Oh, he had a whole special, and he just says like everybody imagines themselves as like the star of their own movie, but like you are not the man on fire. Like you think that you're like this really cool superhero in your own mind, but you're not. You're just an average person, and we're all just average people.
That's very fair. That movie has one of my. When I think of Denzel, I think maybe the moment I think of is from that movie where he's just like, I wish you had more time. Like, I won't say the context of that line, but it's like this incredibly badass line.
Yeah.
But he says that is a 7.7 on IMDb, which is great considering the best movie on IMDb is like a 9,
Yeah.
right? 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. He's like, how can that fucking be possible?
It's
He
right.
writes.
That's fair. Yeah. And he's making a really good point because like there's a lot of these movies that like Rotten Tomatoes didn't exist when they came out. So like Scarface benefits from that, but like new movies that come out now can be hurt by that,
Yeah, no,
right?
100%, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then he also says that Running Scared, his movie that's the most popular of his films, has a 7.4 on IMDb, but a 41 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense.
And he talks about how, you can appeal to the MPAA who rates movies. If they give your movie like an NC-17 or an R, you can appeal to them. They'd be like, all right, actually it's PG-13 or actually it's R or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you can't, like, this is just, the
You
Scarlet Letter
can't.
or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
you can't appeal at all.
But I think it's a good idea. I think it's at least worth reevaluating Rotten Tomatoes or just to stop using it. Because, like, what annoys me, and I get it because it's a marketing thing, but, like, when you buy a Blu-ray and it's, like, on the front, it's, like, certified fresh. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
oh, just because
so
somebody's just
lame.
like, oh, that's a good movie. It's got the tomato on it.
I know, it's so lame.
So-
God, why didn't we invent Rotten Tomatoes? It's so dumb.
Well, like, I remember reading in your house, and I don't remember why. I just was sitting on the couch, just,
Interesting.
I think, whatever, but I was reading about how Rotten Tomatoes works, and, like, even if a movie's like if a review doesn't leave a score, I think we've even talked about this before.
Yes, we did.
Number or a letter, a person at Rotten Tomatoes will read the review and be like,
Thumbs
"Oh,
up,
this
thumbs
is a
down."
positive review," or "This is a negative review," and then but it's like, what? There's nuance to it, right?
There's so many words to pick black or white, right? Like, why
Yeah.
would you ever do... Yeah.
But that's all the news that's fit to print on the streets. Now, Joe, rock the vote.
Okay.
Searching on Google News, The Rock president. Boy, like, reading the news like this is just depressing because there's things that are not about The Rock, but it's
Yeah,
all
I'm
bad
sure.
things. There's nothing there. And then Dwayne Johnson president, nothing news there. Nothing new, no new news there. So, unfortunately, as of right now, he's not running for president. It does feel like, it's not too late. Just get in there.
Yeah, hop in, dude. Pull Bloomberg.
Hop in the passenger seat, grab a Corona and hop in the passenger seat.
Amen.
The last thing we have to do before we take a break and talk about Gone in 60 Seconds is the Fast and Furious minute 60. So this is one, I threw in a couple
So
titles.
many
I don't know which
quotables.
one you like best, but either I've Got Time, or, shout out Zimbio, He's Like Gravity, or A Whole Lot of History. Is there one of those that you like better than the rest?
I like I've Got Time and He's Like Gravity. I'm kind of leaning towards He's Like Gravity, but if you said you like I've Got Time more because I've got nothing but time, I would take either, or I think they're both perfect.
So I think that's what's interesting because I've Got Nothing But Time as the iconic line, but that's from Tokyo Drift, right? Like that's
yeah.
in 2 movies from now, and I don't really remember Brian saying this line.
I don't
The
remember
gravity
either.
thing is a great quote, but I think it only has merit to us because of Zimbio.
I had no idea where it was from before Zimby. I mean, like, I couldn't have placed it, right? Like,
So when we were doing the Zimbio quiz and you said like which of these quotes defines you, if you heard He's Like Gravity, do you know that was about Dom?
yeah, you get that
Okay.
it's about Dom, but like I couldn't have placed it in the movie. Like I would just be like I like if like at the time because there was like characters from like other movies. Like if you were like which one was it in, I would have no idea.
It's a more iconic classic quote than "There's never nothing, there's always something." It's like, oh yeah, Hobbs is looking on the ground for something. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
a weird.
It's also weird. Yeah.
I've Got Time or He's Like Gravity. Maybe we leave both.
Leave both. Yeah, I like it. It's good like this.
That's a whole lot of history.
I've got time.
Okay. Vince grew up with my brother. Actually, he didn't ever actually grow up, as you could tell. But they were friends as kids. And Letty, she lived down the street. Always into cars, though. Ever since she was like 10 years old. So naturally, my brother always had her attention. And then she turned 16.
And then she had Dom's attention.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, isn't it? Yeah.
How is it that Jesse fits into the whole thing?
Jesse, well, Jesse and Leon just sort of showed up one night and never ever left. That's just the way my brother is, though, you know? Dom's like, he's like gravity. Everything just gets pulled to him. Even you.
So in this minute, Brian and Mia continue their date at Cha Cha Cha, and Mia tells Brian how the team not the family, not the gang, came to be.
Yes.
So there's something that I noticed that I wrote down here when Mia is telling the story about how Dom always had Letty's attention. Actually, before we get here, it feels like Letty is the original Dom groupie because we know from Harry
Oh
that when
yeah.
Dom wants something, everybody comes in there, right, and everybody
The
gets
kids
the
buy
thing.
it like crazy.
But it feels like since Letty was 10 years old, she's been obsessed with Dom, and so she's the OG Dom groupie.
She is. She's the first Tourette. The oh, what can we give them a name? Like a Terranton, Toretto, a Toretto Traveler,
A Dom head?
a Dom Head,
Dominatic?
Dominatrix.
No. I was trying to say like fanatic, but Dom.
Yeah.
I don't know that we need a name for that because I feel like that's not going to come up too much more. But she's the
No.
original groupie. She's there,
She
right?
is. I agree.
In this story, as Mia's like, she was 10 and she was obsessed with. She was always into cars and she was obsessed with Dom because Dom's the guy. He's like the known quantity or whatever.
Yeah.
Although, how much older are we to believe Dom is than Letty?
I gotta
A couple
go.
years,
Yeah, more than 2.
3 or 5, maybe.
3 to 5. I was gonna say 4.
If she's 10 and obsessed with Dom, Dom's already known
14.
for driving? Okay, 14. So then this next thing is kind of creepy when she turns 16 and suddenly she catches Dom's eye. It's like, ooh, like that's,
And he was
like
21.
I get it,
Yeah.
but like 20 and 16 or 21 and 16 or it's like, that's not great.
No, but you have to remember, like, this could be like a neighborhood kids kind of thing. Dom was probably like out driving, and like they kind of separated. Then she turned 16, and he's like, "Oh, you're still kind of young." And then like eventually, it's not like they immediately hooked up when he was 20 and she was 16.
Actually, you know what this reminds me of? We actually just talked about this
What?
with Dan. This is Takashi and Neela. This is a friend of the family, underage kind of
is.
girlfriend.
It is. It is. Girl in the neighborhood. Well, he didn't like take her in or anything weird. So
While Mia is telling this story, she's recounting her brother's love, this great love story, this grand love story between Dom and Letty.
yes.
She and Brian are like kind of eye fucking each other a little. Like they're getting turned, like they're talking about love and they're falling in love at the same time.
Or are they just both turned on by Dom?
Brian is Mia being would be real weird.
No, yeah. What I meant was like, is Brian getting turned on hearing about Dom, and Mia's getting turned on by Brian?
By Brian getting turned on,
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
that she thinks that she's like, oh, this guy is so into me, and he's just like,
Like, look at his
"Oh,
eyes.
Dom."
He's so hot, and he's like, "Tell me more about your sexy brother."
That would be a bummer, but like, yeah, like I can't have him, so I got to have the closest thing to him, which is his sister.
Yeah, I guess you'll do.
There's also, and there's not really an extent to it, but I was also thinking about in the Italian, or in Gone in 60 Seconds, we'll get to it after the break, but there's like a siblings in that like kind of don't really come up. And I was just thinking, I was like, oh, there's like a Mia and a Dom and a Jacob there, kind of, sort of. But like, again, wondering here, like, where's Jacob at?
Where's Jacob at? I have no idea. He has to be like an illegitimate son somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out in April or whenever, right? So
Yeah, in 10 months.
there's a lot more people here in the Cha Cha Cha.
So many people.
Last time we did we did minute 59. I did not write down the clothing for them, so I did those today, and I didn't do these because it's like there's too much going on. But aside from all the people that we see, there's not really new camera angles. There's one
No.
new angle.
I said this. I felt bad. There's really not much for me to get here because, like, I think that I did a pretty comprehensive job last minute. I think so. You saw all the shit that I wrote down, so I tried to get everything I could. But there's no new camera angle, so it's just more shit that I've seen and already put down. No, there was nothing like super crazy this side. It's it's a dialogue scene, a conversation. So it's great, but it's not much for us to. This is still 2 pages worth of notes, but
Oh yeah, because there's the people, and I'm gonna add even more. Like if you go back to the previous minute, the clothing is 2 full pages on its own.
yeah, it makes sense.
Brian says, "How did the gang get together?" She's like, "They're a team, not a gang." But he's like, "Okay, I got time." And so she starts with Vince, which I think is an interesting decision, and then she
Yes.
goes to Letty. And then he's like, well, what about Jesse? And she's like, well, Jesse and Leon just showed up and they never went away. And I'm like, even here, Leon feels like an afterthought. Like, Brian didn't ask about Leon. He's not like, yeah, well, what about Jesse and Leon? He's just like, how did Jesse get involved? I mean, I guess we've seen him spend time with Jesse on the computer. We haven't really seen him spend time with Leon, but like,
No.
Leon's there. And it made me wonder this minute, like, and I think the answer is probably yes. Could we have cut Leon out of this movie entirely?
We definitely could have cut Leon completely out of this movie. What if Leon is like the woman in Vanishing Point, and he's just like a figment of all of their imaginations, actually doesn't exist in the movies, and that's why he never comes back.
Maybe. I mean, I'm just wondering why he would be in the movie, because I guess in the beginning they have three cars, and
Well,
so they have
it's aesthetically pleasing to see three cars hijack a truck as opposed
as
to
opposed
two.
to just two, right? And
Yes.
you need a second person in one to be the one who gets into the truck, right? So you
Yep.
have Dom and Letty and Jesse and Vince and Leon. No, you have five people. I guess Jesse's not in the heist, probably,
No,
right?
Jesse's never in the heist. That's part of the deal, right? He's always like, you need a man in the chair on the back.
Okay, so then you have the four of them, which is why you need a fourth person. But like, I feel either, and I know that Mia wouldn't be there, but I don't
No.
know. It just feels like it's for aesthetics. Like you need the extra person there, but like Jesse's doing nothing there, Mia's doing nothing there.
Yep.
Leon's just there to be like a literal warm body to be the one who jacks the truck. Like I love Leon. Like "Old Coyotes Are Us" is one of my favorite quotes that I've
Come here,
discovered or
pumpkin.
newly or rediscovered. Right from this minute. But,
Pumpkin
like,
one gets me every time. Like I
same,
was
yeah,
listening.
that same scene.
I know, and I was listening to like this last night. He's like, "Oh, pumpkin."
Yeah, and that's a great trivia question that I got right because I was like, "Oh, it's old coyotes." I was like, "No, actually, it's coyotes and pumpkin." Yeah,
Exactly.
I feel bad. Like, we want Leon back, but like, I guess that's probably why he never came back because he was never needed there in the first place.
Leon seems also like the one that's most likely to be an actual criminal.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. He just feels like it. He just feels like the guy that was like probably has like a bunch of DUIs or something.
But I feel like we don't know anything about him. I feel like you're just. I mean, and I'm not saying that you're like profiling him, but like we don't know anything about him.
Vince knows him forever.
I mean, keep in mind they all are actual criminals.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, they all are actual criminals. But I'm saying like Leon's most likely to have like DUIs and like
Why?
I don't know. He just feels like it.
Based on what though? Like I want to know why because it feels like
He joined the crew later and they instantly let him start doing crimes with them.
well, we don't know when later was.
We don't know when later was, but we have to assume that it was past the time that Dom was 16 because that's when Letty was involved when she was 10. And we know Vince was friends with them since the 3rd grade.
I don't think Amia's omitting Leon because he's later. I think she's omitting Leon and Jesse because they're less important.
But Jesse has a role in the crew, right? Like he's the circuits guy for this movie.
Right, but she also doesn't say this. She doesn't bring him in at all. Brian has to ask about him, right? So like,
Because she was going in chronological order. Because think she went.
no, I don't
Vince,
think I don't think she's going in chronological order. I think
She
she's
is.
going in importance.
No, I think she's going. If she was going in importance, Letty would be first.
Yeah, maybe.
Like she's going like this is how it started. Like first it was Vince, then it was Letty, and then he's like, well, what about Jesse? And she's like, well, they just showed up later.
So we know that Vince and Dom knew each other. They met in the 3rd grade, right?
Yes.
So you're 8 or 9, right? And then
Yep.
Letty was 10, all into cars. So like we know that Letty's always been around. But Jesse and Leon could have showed up at like 12 or 14. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not like they're just like 22 and like, hey guys, what's up?
It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that because like Vince seems like he's like I'm the oldest friend, and like Leon is his.
But based on what?
Because he's like Dom. I've known you since the 3rd grade. Dom takes him to go investigate Brian, not Leon or Jesse. Right? Clearly, he is the oldest friend, like the most trustworthy friend that he has.
Which is saying something about his friends because he is. I mean, I guess he is right.
He's right. Yeah. Leon showed up later, and for him to just join the crew and start doing crimes with them, their relationship's like long, but not like as long as Vince's. So in that sense, I feel like he was like a criminal or like a wheelman that they found. Also, they get him to like watch out for the cops. He kicks out the pizza boy guy. Like, you know what? Like, he just does all like a lot of like minor criminal shit. Like, you could just see him being like a really bad egg.
Well, I think that's also there narratively because they need someone. Like, you can't just have like a random person do it, and Jesse is never in those situations. Like,
No, because Jesse has a real role in this. He's like the designer. He is this part of it. You know, like he's just a kid that like seems like pretty wholesome.
So then, in that regard, I think you could also look at it like Leon's the least likely to be a criminal because he's just like a hang around, like, hey guys, I just want to be helpful. Like, I got another part here.
No, absolutely not. Jesse's least likely to be criminal.
Well, yeah, well, but I mean,
He got sucked in with the wrong crew, and he's just like, you know, a poor boy with ADHD that like now is in a criminal ring
and dead.
and dead. Yes.
I don't know. I just don't see. I don't think that Leon's inherently more of a criminal. I think he's more mysterious. But if you're only equating
I feel
mysterious to criminal,
It's not mysterious. That's what I just gave you a whole bunch of evidence.
that's all circumstantial. That doesn't hold up in court.
But I mean, it's character witnesses, right? Character references.
We're not acquitting. Like we're not using that to acquit Dom.
No, we're not.
Your character witness is just like we don't know anything about him.
No, it's not. We do. We see lots of evidence that Leon does minor criminal shit with an easy conscience. He doesn't really care about it, shutting down streets. He's fine with robbing the cars. He's there to just, do some criminal shit. He's totally okay with it.
But I feel like they're all doing that, though.
Yeah, I know, but like Jesse has like a past of like,
Well, I'm not comparing Leon to Jesse. I'm just saying that Leon versus Vince, like, they're both equally. Leon, I don't think is inherently more criminal than the other three of them.
I think so.
I know. That's why we're having this conversation. You have not swayed me.
Okay, fair. But I did lay out some evidence.
I will give you that he's mysterious. But yeah, gather more evidence and then return to me and come back with more. Like, I don't have a counter argument. I just don't think that, like, I'm not saying he's not a criminal.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, like, I don't think he's inherently more
He feels like it, man.
evil. Right.
I don't think
know,
he's evil. I think he's more of a criminal, is what I said.
I know, but you just keep saying, then the why is because he feels like it. I just want more.
In my
I want more,
gut,
like,
yeah.
we're breaking this down to its core elements.
I
Just
know.
saying, like,
Next time we see a Leon scene, we'll pick out some elements of where I think that he's more criminalistic in nature than the rest of them.
okay. I also don't know when is he going to come back. I mean, he's at the end.
He's at Race Wars.
Actually, so here's going back to the first race. When they have the first street race, right? And he closes. He says, "Streets closed, Pizza Boy." Right?
Yes.
Like, Vince isn't there, is he?
Vince
I don't think.
was. Yeah,
Mia's there.
He's there.
But Vince
he's
isn't there.
Vince is there.
Vince is at the first race
I don't remember now. Now you have me questioning it.
because Letty's the trophy. Mia counts the money. Leon closes the street.
Do we have to go back and watch these now?
Streets closed, Pizza Boy. I'm going back in a minute.
Oh, yeah, go back, because I have all the cars there.
We don't have Vince.
Interesting.
Dom and his crew appear.
Okay.
Dom's car we have.
But I might have just added Dom's car because it was the new one.
Dom, Hector, and Edwin set up the race.
Yeah.
Letty, Monica, Jesse, Danny, and Hector I have clothing for. Edwin and Dom I have clothing for.
That'd be so strange if Vince and Leon weren't there.
Well, we know Leon's there.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, because he shuts down the street. Yeah.
So there's 5. Dom rolls up with 5 cars.
So it has to be all of them. And probably Mia drove, too, because she probably has the...
There's a red car that's driven by Dom.
Yeah.
He's in the lead. There's a yellow car.
Yeah. That's Vince, right? Vince has the yellow car. Leon has the blue car.
Letty gets out.
Letty has a red car. She has
Yep.
the
Vince is
240.
there. Okay, Vince is there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there we
But
go.
he just, like, recedes to the background. It's weird.
Very strange. Well, he's confident in his friendship with Dom. He knows that he's the oldest friend. He doesn't.
It does make me wonder. It makes me question if we were detail-oriented enough early in the minute.
I don't know. I think we were. We tried.
I feel like we were just sort of vague about, like...
I was thinking when we finish the movie, we have to go through one more, but all at once, right?
Oh,
Do you
that could
like
be a
that
special,
idea?
That could be a special episode. I don't know how to do that. I don't know if we could do that on air. We might have to do that off. We'll figure it out. But that's a good idea.
I say we do it off air. We add new stuff that we caught, and then we talk about the stuff that we caught that we went through.
Okay, that
That's
works.
the whole movie.
All right, so now minute 60, aka I've got time, or he's like gravity. Trivia question. I wrote down one. This is very nitpicky, but I also think it's funny because like we need to make the quiz great again. We need to return to a time where it's just like, what the fuck is this question?
Yes.
This is the kind of question that's gettable, but it also is going to drive your friends crazy.
Yeah.
But is there a better...
No, you got it. You got it. Go ahead. Say the question, but we'll
The
talk
question
about...
I have is, what color coffee cup is Brian drinking from at Cha Cha Cha?
Which I
It's
thought...
either something noteworthy like this, like noticeable like this, or the only thing it could be about the history of where these people came from. But there's already a question about Vince knowing him from the 3rd grade. We knew that, like, I think people just know that Letty was always around. There's not really a question to be asked about Jesse and Leon, right? It's just
the
they just
question
showed
the
up.
other way would be, how old was Letty when she started hanging around? 10, 12, 16... Because she says 16 later, but she started at 10.
Well, she got into cars at 10. She might have been around since birth.
You're right.
The question could be, when did Letty get into cars?
It could be.
We could say 10, 14, 16, or she's always been into cars.
Oh.
Like, we can do a second question.
Okay, I like that.
Or do we not want to do the coffee cup question?
Okay, so the question is what color is Brian's coffee cup? But I think that it was yellow. You and Rachel said no, it's either beige or white. And the lighting in the restaurant's very strange because there's all that Christmas tree lighting, and it's very yellowy. Like, the film is very yellow in that moment. So I think that I'm being skewed by how yellow the scene is. It's a hard question. I don't think there's a definitive answer to what color is the coffee cup.
I just think, I agree, but I also think that we could say, if we say red, blue, beige, black.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we want to, but I think we could. I think it's also like what the fuck is this question? Like,
Yeah.
it's funny. I don't know if it's good.
Yeah, I think you could just get rebuttal, right? Because, like, it could be yellow, it could be white, it could be beige. We might get into another Dom's jacket situation.
I mean, we could call it cream, and that kind of covers everything.
Yeah, we could.
So we have first, at what age did Letty get into cars? 6, 10, 16, or she's always been into cars.
Yeah.
It could also be like she doesn't actually care about cars. Spoiler, she hates cars.
She doesn't remember.
She doesn't remember. Do we want to do the coffee cup question?
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down for it. Why not?
Okay, so we could say red, black, blue, cream.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it more because people have been taking the quiz more. I said that, Nick took it. I don't remember what Nick's score was, but it was a pretty good. I think it was in
It
the
was
high...
like 55, 56.
No, Ben got a 55.
Oh, sorry.
Nick, I think, got in the high 40s, I think, which is still a very good score.
And Rachel, who's watched these movies with me over and over again, she took it last night, and she knows all the quiz. Like, she hears me make the quiz. She got like a 38 last night, I think.
As I mentioned on the last episode, on our Patreon, on toofast2forever.com, I added a welcome and intro post that I pinned to the top. In there is the link to the quiz. In there is the link to the minute document. If you are not a patron yet, you have access to both of these, even from $1 a month over at toofast2forever.com. And if you are a patron, you have not taken the quiz yet, or if you've not taken the quiz in a while, we're now up to 65 questions through 60 minutes.
Yes.
So,
yeah, there's a lot
at
of them.
what age did Letty get into cars, and what color coffee cup is Brian drinking from?
Cream kind of nails it. I like that. Cream is an acceptable answer. So.
All right, let's take a break. Let's hear another word from Ford, and let's talk about Gone in 60 Seconds.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 93. Gone in 60 Seconds, not that Angelina Jolie bullshit. This episode is brought to you by Ford. Give it that extra oomph. You've configured your dream Mustang, now it's time to double down. For next level performance, with the looks to match, Mustang offers 7 available performance packages. Shout out Ford.
Shout out Ford. Thank you, Ford. Thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you, Eleanor.
This movie, first credit, starring Eleanor, which, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, but bro, how disappointed in it were you that it wasn't a Shelby Cobra?
I obviously like Nicolas Cage, and I obviously like the new movie. We talked about that, but I don't really have, like, it's I actually wonder on my list of favorite Cage movies, like, I don't really have a close affinity to the remake. Like, I like it, but I don't love it.
Oh man, I love it so much. I was really disappointed. I thought that like they had a Shelby Cobra in the new one because this car was going to be a Shelby Cobra, but no, it's just a Mustang.
Gone in 60 I have. It's probably too low, but I have it right now as my 35th favorite Cage movie.
Jeez, that's very low. It's such a good movie.
It's realistically probably closer. I got to redo this list. It's probably in the 20 to 25 range, I would say.
Okay.
There's a reason we did the podcast, is because there's a lot of movies that he did that we love. Me and
Exactly.
Meister. I was saying to you before we started recording this that I don't have a ton of fast connections here, and we'll talk about what the movie's about, but I think that there's an interesting thing. I think us doing this week as we did it, doing the Italian Job original and doing this original, worked off because I feel like the remakes of each almost could not be more different. They're
I
both
agree.
telling their own story, but the Gone in 60 Seconds remake, I wouldn't say a lot closer, but it's definitely closer to, and thematically closer to, this one, and also there's certain scenes and stuff.
Yep.
And it feels like the Italian Job remake is just like, yeah, we have the name, we kind of have some character names, but like everything else is kind of new, right? Like,
And
it's
like
a
we
heist.
talked about that they were like, oh, we only like watched this once or whatever. We only read the book once to make sure that we like just were close, but like totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one feels like it was definitely like made as a remake.
Absolutely. We'll get into all of that later. I think that could be a nice way to sort of not end the show, but do it toward the end. But this movie, if you have not seen this or the remake, it's basically the same plot, essentially, is that a group of car thieves
Very
is
close.
approached to steal. In the new one, they have 50. In this movie, they have 48 cars in like 3 days, and they deliver them to the docks. And if they do that here, they're going to get $400,000, which...
$200,000.
200?
Yeah, and it's the exact same amount of money that's in the remake that I always have qualms with because I'm like, why are you going to steal 50 Lamborghinis for $200,000? Like,
Right.
a lot of these cars are almost worth $200,000. Why would you steal 50 of them and only make $200,000? In this sense, 30, 40 years earlier, it feels a lot more real.
Right.
Like $200,000 is like, whoa, okay, cool. That makes a lot more sense.
I think the remake adds some extra stuff here. Like, this is a very simple kind of movie that they have the 48 cars that they need to steal. They kind of have one rule: make sure you don't steal an uninsured car. Like, they want to make sure that they have kind of victimless crimes, right? That they
Yes.
have every car they steal can be easily replaced. That, fuck an insurance company, but like, we don't want just some random guy with a nice car to be out 40K or whatever because like we stole his car. Like, that's not fair to
Exactly.
him. I mean, we're criminals, but we're not bad guys. Essentially, they don't say
Yeah.
that, but like essentially that's what it is.
Yeah, I get it.
They have all the cars, but they realize that the Eleanor they stole, this Ford Mustang, which they talk about, they're like, it's not a rare car, which is weird. Like, that's one of the big differences, and we'll talk about that later. It's a car that they see, they're even driving by, they're like, there's another Eleanor, and like, they're just all over the place, food all over the place. The one that they stole that they were going to deliver was uninsured, so they bring that back and they have to steal another one, and then this movie literally ends with a 40-minute car chase.
This is why I'm upset about that, because in the remake, them making it a rarer car, it is the same car, right? Making it a Shelby Cobra, a GT500, like, that gives it the Eleanor status, right? Like, it feels it's kind of lost here if, like, it's not a super rare car, it's just a car that gives them trouble. It'd be a rare car and a car that gives them trouble would make it more interesting to me. But you'd also
Right.
lose the whole, like, car wash trade thing. Because, like, what would be
Exactly,
the
which is
chances?
super cool, and one of my maybe I want to talk about that because I don't know how much of that was planned and how much of that was just a happy coincidence, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Eleanor in the new one is basically Cage's white whale, right? Like, it's the car that he's
Yes.
always wanted to steal, he's never been able to steal,
It always gives
and
him
this is the one that he
trouble.
has to do here, right?
Yeah.
Here it's just like, oh yeah, we just need a Mustang. It's like, oh, okay. The fact that they're all over the place, that they're everywhere, that they see multiple in this movie, that they steal multiple in this movie, it just happens to be the last car, essentially, right? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
this is the one that we had an issue with, which is not a bad thing. That might be a function of the remake wanting to pay homage to this movie, to like specifically to the chase, and
Yes.
being like, we can't do it better. Like, there was a chase at the end of the new one, but like, we can't do it better than this one. We're not going to try, really. Like, we're going to have a chase in Eleanor, but we're not going to do a 40-minute chase.
Yeah.
We're going to make this one seem elusive, because instead of being like, oh, just coincidentally the last one we need is this, this Cobra, it's like, the one that we've never been able to get is the one that's basically from the first movie. And I think it's kind of paying homage to this one.
I think it does it better, to be honest. That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't think this movie's trying to say that the Mustang is like the greatest car in the world.
No.
I think it's just like, it's just the car that he was in. It's the last one they needed to get.
I get that, but I'm saying, like, putting higher stakes on it in the remake made that part feel more significant to me.
Oh, sure. I kind of like it feels more in line with like Vanishing Point or whatever. Just like, this is just the car that we're in where shit's happening.
Okay.
The Challenger isn't like a special car. It's just the car that he's in that he has to deliver that like he blows up in, right? Like, it's not like it's this elusive car like in Death Proof where they're like, oh, we need the Vanishing Point car. It's almost like that same thing where it's like, we're paying respect to the old thing. In the old thing, it's just like, this is just the car we're in that we're telling a story in. Like, it's a
Yeah.
cool car, but it's not. It doesn't have to be like this rare car. And I think both approaches are
Both
valid. I
work.
think they're both like interesting and they're both whatever.
Yeah, you sold me. I do like the remake version better, but you sold me that that both are very valid.
You say the remake version, you mean the remake in terms of how they treat Eleanor or the entire movie?
Definitely in terms of how they treat Eleanor and what Eleanor is in the remake, I like better. This movie, I don't know what was going on or something like that, but this didn't draw me in. I think it was because we just watched The Italian Job and how much I loved it, the fondness that I have for the remake and how much that movie means to me. This one just like it just wasn't everything that I wanted it to be when I was watching it today. I was let down by it, but I think that it's because of my own high set expectations for what it should have been.
Okay, I agree with that. I think so. I actually wonder. I think if you had seen, I don't know how the remake would have paid off. I think if you saw this movie first and then you
Yes.
saw the remake,
Yes.
you would be like, "Oh, that's cool." Like, they're paying respect to the first one. I feel like if you
Yep.
see the original Italian Job, you see that remake, you'd be like, "Oh, like there's names, but like this is a different movie. Like, it's just like
Yep.
it's whatever."
I agree.
I think that loving the remake and like you just described, having such fondness and such
It has a special meaning to me. Like, I like that movie. I know that
Right.
I have a biased opinion that I really enjoy that movie. I've seen it a ton. Watching this one, there was cool parts in this movie, but I was like, man, like, I really like the remake better.
I think that there's definitely comparisons to be made between this and the Italian Job because they're both movies that were made within the same 5-year window and remade within the same 3 or 5-year
Yep.
window, right? Like,
Yep.
they're both
I agree.
basically about 30 years or whatever between original and remake, or 25 or 30 years, whatever,
Yep.
right? That's almost weirdly like where the comparisons things end. I think this was like a dirty, done cheap movie. The trivia about this, like so much of what was done on screen, people didn't know. Like a lot of the people that are just on the street are just bystanders. They just think that they're watching a police chase, which I think is very cool.
That's
I
very
think that the
cool.
Italian job, I mean, we also saw that too, like when the Italian mafia had to come down and close off the streets or whatever. Kind of similar in that regard. But I feel like this is just kind of the work of just H.B. Halicki, who's the director, who's also the star of this movie. He plays Mandrian Pace.
Okay.
I think a lot of the cars that we see are his.
Oh,
In one
interesting.
part where they fucked up, like they were in a car dealership and they like fucked up a lot of Cadillacs. Like he had to buy all those Cadillacs because like they just damaged all these cars and they're like, you got to do something. Like today would be like found footage, right? Or like found shots, right? But this is just like they're just making a movie in California and they're just telling the story. I feel like the Italian job is more crafted as a movie.
It's a film.
This is like we're just
Yes.
shooting a thing in a city that doesn't really know. Like people know, like the cops, like some of the cops know, but like it's all cops, like actual cops and actual firefighters, I think, who had basically volunteered to be in this because they want that like sort of
The
cinema
realism.
verite, like the old French cinema of like where this all feels real because it is real. And I think like I can see why Tarantino would love this because this is
I
like
agree.
gritty and grimy and like you can
It's
just
like
feel like
how
it
movies
just
should be made, like
yeah.
the original intention of the films.
The real dumb people in real cars, whatever, crashing other cars, whatever. Like
Yep.
in that final, it's not the final jump, but like it's the big jump at the end
Where they
where
play
they
it
go
15
off.
different times, like Death Proof. Did you feel like Death Proof, where they just keep
Yeah.
showing you different angles of the same?
They go 30 feet high and they cleared 128 feet. The director and star Halicki was driving that, and when they crashed, he had a spine compression and compressed 10 vertebrae. Kind of fucked up the way he walked for the rest of his life. And actually, more devastating news, he died while filming Gone in 60 Seconds 2.
Jesus, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
So in 1989, so like 15 years later, a 160-foot water tower was supposed to topple to the ground when awry. A cable attached to the tower accidentally snapped and chopped part of a light pole, which fell on him, killing him instantly. He was 48. So this is just
Jesus.
a guy who like he's just kind of a stunt guy, right? Because
I
that's what
was
I told you
thinking
yesterday. Like
this.
I didn't know the context, but like the fact that the star is the director, I'm like this feels like a passion project.
You know, we watch Death Proof and we see them talk about this movie, and it makes sense why the stunt people would love this movie so much, right?
Yeah,
Not only
yeah.
is it a really cool car chase, but if you're a stunt person, you would very much relate to like how cool this is and how this guy was doing his own stunts and how he was also the director and like a stunt person having like a real job and like being taken seriously. I can get that, and that made it cool.
So actually, let me tell you some of the trivia because this is like stuff that they captured that the behind the scenes, the making of. So at one point, a driver missed a mark and caused Eleanor to hit a light post at 85 miles an hour.
I remember that scene, yeah.
The director, the star Halicki, was driving and he got knocked out. And he came back and he said the first thing he said was, "Did we get coverage? Like basically, did we get the shot?" So like that's just him like I just hit a pole doing 85. Please tell me you got that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the part where they're like, the car hit a pole. No, what did he say? I actually wrote it down because it was like one of my favorite lines in this movie. Hold on. Jesus Christ, he just hit a damn pole. Like,
We see on the movie that like that Cadillac hits him, and then I think the guy who says it like turns around, like he's like talking on
Yeah.
the police radio, right? Like that driver wasn't supposed to hit him. So like when he spins out across all four lanes of traffic and like hits the pole, that wasn't in the script. That was just an accident they caught on tape, which is cool and also scary as hell.
frightening, yeah.
So most of the bystanders and members of the public in the movie are just real people going about their business.
What about the lady with the umbrella? Is she one of them?
I have no idea.
hope
I wrote
so.
her down because she's one of my favorites. We'll talk about her for sure. In some scenes, people are yelling at the cops like help him!" And like they're actual cops, but it's not an actual person who's hurt, but they're actual people that are worried about it. They're like, "Why aren't you helping this guy who's bleeding?" It's like, well, because the guy who's bleeding is an actor, and the cops are in on it, and like it's just this weird blend
Weird
of like
dynamic, yeah.
real people and fake people and real people playing fake people.
You know what upset me about this one too? During the chase scene, there's so much footage of the carnage and aftermath and like recoveries. I felt detracted for me from the chase scene. I like the suspension of belief that you see all this happen and like obviously people are dying and stuff like that, but like if you don't see it, it doesn't feel as real. So you're like, oh, cool, the car chase scene is cool. In this one, they show you like all these people getting like dragged out of fucking cars and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, like they're like harming all of these people, and it made me like anxious, you know?
Well, yeah, it's the opposite of Fast Five. It's like this is what happens when you drag a safe through the street. Like people die, and it's like we're seeing people get bloodied. Like that woman, like dazed on her car. You think she's dead, and she like barely lifts her head. Like it's frightening.
That's what I'm saying. It made me tense. Too tense.
Also, I will say that this movie is 97 minutes long. It has 93 car crashes that demolished cars, and all 93 of them take place in the 40-minute chase scene. There's that one scene on the bridge where like car crashes into car, like there's like 10 car pileup in a row, and like
Yeah.
they're actual cars getting wrecked.
What do you mean they're actual
No, I
cars?
mean like they're all like that's all planned, I
That's
think.
what I'm
But like
saying,
it's
yeah.
still like they're still ruining cars.
Oh, yeah, they blew through a ton of cars here.
So there, this is funny. So there was no script for the movie. They just had several pages outlining main dialogue sequences, and so the editor had a really hard time. He's like, I don't know what I'm looking at. So when there's the construction site where they're driving around the construction site, the
Yes.
script was a piece of cardboard with a circle on it, and the director pointed and just said, "That's the Dust Bowl. We went around it twice. That's your script," which is so funny and cool, and also like infuriating. It's like here, this is the scene. It's just here's a circle. We went around it twice. It's cool, but it's also like I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, like give me some direction here.
All the police cars damaged in the film, as well as the garbage truck that overturns, were bought at a city auction by the director for an average price of $200 each. They all sat in an empty lot for over a year until production began in 1973. So,
That's kind of cool.
still wrecking cars, but at least it's, cost effective.
Yeah, $200 each. Like even back then, that's decent, right?
200 in 1972
Like a couple
is
grand each.
$1,200 today.
$1,200, even cheaper than I thought.
So one of the detectives in this movie at a roadblock sequence at the Mazda agency was almost killed. A stunt with Eleanor went wrong and the Mustang slammed into his unmarked police car, which he was standing behind. The scene was left in the film. I think that might be either when he like fishtails out of there or maybe another thing, but like when we'll get to that, the car sequence scene there is like that's crazy. He feels boxed in, and to see like a guy almost die, they're like, no, we're gonna leave it in the movie. It's like, okay.
Yeah, we can see why Tarantino and Death Proof love this movie, right? They're like, oh, it's so real.
When they're in the construction area and the car's been surrounded, a patrol car roars up a hill in pursuit and overturns.
Yep.
This was a real accident, and the officer inside was nearly crushed when the siren can on the roof caved the roof in. The scene was left in.
Wow.
Which, as long as somebody doesn't die, it's like, well, you did a thing, like you did a stunt, like I
Yeah,
wish it
where do
didn't
you draw
happen,
the
but like
line?
you gotta leave it in.
I'm okay with this, right? If these guys didn't die, and you're not like showing somebody's death on screen, or you didn't
Yep.
tell them to do this, and you just got a happy circumstance where they're safe and something crazy happened, use the footage. Why not?
Sure. And then the last bit of trivia is that when they were at the dealership and they wanted to have the effect of like all the cars sliding into each other, but that hit by the patrol car,
Yeah.
they put down oil under the tires so they could slide. But when they did it, it worked too well, and that's when all the Cadillacs got damaged, and that's why he had to buy all these. So they're like, okay, cool, we'll just add all this oil. Basically what we saw in the Italian Job, right? Like the guy mopping the floor, and
Yeah.
the motorcycle burns out, peels out, falls over, whatever. But it's here, it's just like, oh shit, you just wrecked all these Cadillacs. Sorry, bro, you got to buy them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's all the trivia. I mean, it just feels like because all the trivia is just basically like you see all that shit on screen.
Yeah, they didn't mean to
all
do
went
that.
wrong. Yeah. And also, actually, the one other thing is that this is something that I put on Twitter that you and I both talked about is that the sound. So this movie is
Oh,
available
God.
to watch for free on Prime.
Yes, that's how I
The
watched
sound
it. Yep.
mixing is awful.
Terrible.
And-
One of the worst I've ever heard. Like this rivals like some of my favorite blaxploitation movies. Like
So
that's
here's-
how bad it is.
Possibly why is because in 2001 they re-released it like on video, and I guess this is probably the rip of that essentially, whatever they're playing
Yes.
on Amazon Prime and Vudu. They redid a lot of the stuff. I think they lost licensing, and so they had to cut 6 songs, and they replaced it with like the Muzak, and they also had to redid a lot of the sound effects. So like apparently if you find a version of this movie from before 2001, it probably sounds a lot better. But like what's available now and like what you could buy on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever
Stream.
is probably just the not the great one. But like if you can find a VHS from back in the day, or you can find like a laser disc or whatever, right? Like that's probably the good original mix with the original music, and probably not like where the surround left channel is all the dialogue and like
Oh, God,
the
it was
center
so
channel is just
bad.
like background music, and like background chatter is the front, left, and right. Like everything about like as soon as the movie started, I was just like, oh, this is bad.
I was watching it and like my brain noticed it, but I didn't notice it till I read your tweet about it, and I was like, oh yeah, literally all my dialogue's coming from the left channel and all the music is from the right channel, and this is very strange.
Like everything is there, it's just like jumbled. Like usually the way that it works is that all the dialogue comes through the center channel, like, or on when you have like a
Yes.
two, like a left right,
Yeah.
it's through both, and then the stuff you can sort of simulate or actually create real sound, surround sound. But here, literally 100% of the dialogue, the actual dialogue, was rear left, and then the background, like just like characters like talking to each other that we're not supposed to hear, those were left and right. The music was center, and then just like weird sound effects were like back right. It's like, what? How does this even happen?
Like nobody checked this. There was no
I don't
quality
know.
control for this at all.
I don't know. So let's talk about the movie. Some things we saw that we recognized or whatever. I will say we
Okay.
mentioned his name a couple times, but of course Tarantino loves this movie. But we even talked about this, I think, on maybe on the Death Proof episode when we were talking about Michael Parks. Remember the father-son sheriff team in the hospital?
Yes,
We were
yes,
talking about
yes.
was in other stuff.
Yep.
When they show up in Kill Bill to the chapel where the massacre took place, there's a bunch of sunglasses on the dashboard, and that's something that he took from this movie. Because like at the beginning, this movie starts with the car with all the sunglasses on the dashboard, and I was like, oh, this is a nice little reference to Gone in 60.
Makes sense for sure. You know what should have been stolen from this film that I fucking loved every time I saw it?
What's that?
The water heater safe. It
Oh,
was the
yeah, that was
coolest
super
thing
cool.
I've ever seen in my life. It like really took me back to that like hidden things as a child, like spy toy type situation things. And I was like, oh man, this the safe that like the top lifts up if you push the side button on the switch. Oh, it was so cool to me.
And they just have that holding shoe boxes of like license plates and paperwork and the evidence of their crimes, but they're like, so the level of detail, the movie starts with they steal a Challenger, I think, right?
Yeah, it's a Challenger. And what they've been doing is they buy a car that's like totaled, right?
The level of detail for this is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. They buy an old car that's like totaled,
Yep.
and they're like restoring it. But instead of restoring it, they just steal a new car that looks just like this, and then replace all the VIN numbers, all the parts, everything.
Yeah.
To like with the pieces from the totaled car, and they're like, "No, officer, like this is the real car."
And they're like, don't cops know to check? They're like, it's like a 5,000 to 1. Like it doesn't happen. Like, don't worry about it. But they swap out the VIN, they swap out the license plates, they swap out the stuff under the seats. Like
Yep.
they show a guy in the beginning of this movie going to a police auction, spending $300 on a junked car, bringing that back. They cut it down. They tear it into scrap metal. They probably get some money back from that, and they take all the identifiable stuff off and put it on the new car, and that's it. Can you explain, what did I miss? Why did they steal that car back and then junk it?
Somebody was like on to them about it. Like I think they did the like transition too quickly.
Okay.
And somebody was like, "How did he knows that we just bought this car totaled?" And they saw it on the garage like lot like a week later. They were like the cops were on to them about this specific car, so they're like, "Okay, we're gonna junk it to like get rid of it, right? To like make sure it's gone,
Right.
so that like we can't get caught in possession of a stolen car."
Okay, that makes sense. Because
That's what
there's
I got
other
from
cars
it,
that they
at
get
least.
rid of, like when they have the heroin car later,
Yes.
which is again something that we'll talk about that. But like they burn that, they just get rid of it, right? So like
Yeah.
they're getting rid of a couple cars in this movie for different reasons. But I was like, what did I miss? Because it feels like they did all that work, and then like
They
30
did.
minutes later, they're just like, oh no, we got to get rid of it.
Because like the one guy's like, "You fucking blew it. Like we're gonna get caught over this," and he's like, "Relax." And then yeah, they just get rid of it.
But I will say that car's license plate is 000 Gal, and I was like, ooh, Gal Gadot.
True. Very true.
I think it'd be very funny if we did the Gone in 60 Seconds minute and we did the garage, and then you had to go through, like, you had to do the laborious work of going through, like, old Playboys to find all the centerfolds on the wall. Because they have an entire wall of just, like, topless women, like, centerfolds from magazines. Like an authentic old garage.
That's what I was saying. You and I and Wes were talking about this not too long ago. That I found all those like snap-on clocks that had like the sexy ladies on them. Remember I sent this to you guys? I was saying like this made me feel really nostalgic for like old garages, because old garages used to just be like dens of sin, right? Like they were like
Yeah.
vice havens, because like mechanics would be like, "Oh, no women are coming like into the garage, so like we can put up like pictures of topless models and stuff like that, and like nobody will see it." And like I remember like going to these garages with my dad or my grandfather or something like that, and being like, "Holy fuck, what is all this shit, and where did it come from?" Because you're like a little kid, you're like, I know that I'm not supposed to be looking at this. Why are these here? And like, should I be looking at it? Should I not be looking at it? And like it just fires your brain really quick at like that young age.
One thing that I really liked about this movie that I think you generally like about movies too is when they have the titular line, and the titular line in this was on a Goodyear blimp. Like they're at an event, and
Yeah.
on the blimp it just says "lock your car or it may be," and then they cut away for a little bit, and then they go back. It just says "gone" in 60 seconds. I'm like, That's pretty cool. I
That's
like
pretty
that.
badass. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that too. On the blimp is a nice touch. Like it is opposed to like having the guy like deliver the line with the Vin Diesel tone or
Yeah.
something. It was nice.
The chase where they have, I think it's when they have, when I think they're when they're stealing the Challenger back, and there's the tow truck, and like that tow truck chase is insane because it's like a tow truck that's towing a car, and a cop is chasing him, and this guy's doing like fishtails, like he's doing like 180s. He's a madman
And it's not a
towing another car.
flatbed. It's not a flatbed, so the car is like
No.
fucking swinging all over the place, like as a tail. Like it's
Like it's
crazy.
essentially the length of two cars. Like it's it's a little bit on the tow truck, but it's like mostly the length of the entire tow truck and then the length of the entire car. And it's like he's able to maneuver this car in ways like in relatively tight spaces. It's like this isn't like I've never seen something like this.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was definitely interesting and original. I agree.
It was crazy. I don't have any other words to say to that. It was crazy.
It was definitely a memorable scene. I won't forget that one for a while, that's for sure. You don't see too many tow truck chases in movies.
No, like there should be, but there's not. I mean, the only thing that like comes to my brain,
they're
we
super
might have even talked about
dangerous.
this, is that like in the beginning, I think of Grand Theft Auto 5, there's one where you're driving a tow truck and you're supposed to like pull out. Actually, this might have been in a movie too, and I don't remember what movie it is. So if you know, write in where they attach the winch to like a house built overlooking a cliff, and they tie the winch to like the supports, and you just like pull basically the entire house down.
Yeah.
Like that's the only tow truck thing that I can even think of that I can remember in anything. But this is like totally different.
Yeah, it's a full-on chase scene with a tow truck towing an actual, like not even with the tow truck, just like tow truck and a car. I think it has to be dangerous, like we were saying. Like I'm sure somebody almost died doing this, and they were like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
probably.
yeah, we probably shouldn't do that again."
Because like every time it turned, I was expecting the car to like get loosed from the winch
Roll.
and just
Yeah.
like fly, roll or fly off or whatever. But no, it's always on there. It's boy, there is one scene in this movie that is almost it's like a different context, but very similar, where they steal the car with drugs in the trunk.
It's almost identical. I liked this part of the homage of the remake too.
They're arguing about it. They're like, this could be a lot of money for us. They're like, no, we need to bring it back, which is the same thing that happens in the remake. They drop drugs on the floor and it spills everywhere, and then cops knock on the door. And so they have to basically manipulate the cops around the drugs. In the remake, it's where they see the cars on the board and they're like, "Oh, we know what's up." And that's
Yes.
actually something that Mike and I talked a lot about in Gone in 60 Seconds. Is that for a lot of Cage Club, for the first 20 years of his career, almost every cop you saw on screen was dumb. They were not good at their jobs. And then in the
Interesting.
remake, you have Timothy Oliphant and Delroy Lindo, who are like really accomplished police. They're good police. The entire time they know what's going on, and they're always like one step ahead. Like they're not busting them because they don't have the evidence yet, but they're like,
They
we
know
know
what
what
they're
you're doing. We know where you're going. We know we're going to stop you. And it was like a weird, refreshing thing to see. And I feel like that was something that I felt was missing from this. Not that I wanted it, but I loved that element of the remake so much that here,
I
even in
agree.
the scene where it's the same scene almost, not having that element of these cops that we know and that are good at their jobs felt a little bit lacking.
I definitely like the dynamic where it felt a lot more cat and mouse. That they were at least on the same plane, like intelligence wise, strategy wise, things like that. Like the cops had an equal matching plan, and like the ultimate mastermind would win out, right?
Yeah. I also do want to point out that Timothy Oliphant, if you'll remember, was the original choice for Dominic Toretto, and he said, and I think somebody eventually, I don't know if it was the director, I don't know if it was Rob Cohen or producers, but they said no because it was too similar to this, or maybe he didn't want to do it because it was too similar to this, but like to the remake, I mean. The reason that Timothy Oliphant, who I love,
Yeah.
was not Dominic Toretto was because he was in Gone in 60 Seconds, which is probably why he was in the running at all, because it's, just like, oh, car guy from car movie, car guy for car movie, right? But
Yeah.
they're just like, it's too similar. But now, here we are in the era of Vin.
And yeah, and if without Vin, I don't think Fast and the Furious would have been the same thing. So
Right. My favorite part of this movie, my favorite character in this movie, aside from the woman with the umbrella, who like is just angry in a parking lot and she
Yes.
slams Eleanor with her umbrella and then she slams a cop car with her umbrella as they drive by, is someone who she talks to, but the journalist going through this movie and getting reactions from people on the street, I was like, this guy is killing it.
the one with the with like the microphone like purse thing.
Yeah, and like the bag with like the big recording equipment. Yes.
Yeah, he was funny. I liked it.
Because I'm actually thinking, like, if these people that he's interviewing are just bystanders, they could think that he's actually just a reporter for, like, the local news. But, like, his reactions, there's, like, just, like, the way that he responds to questions, he's just, like, so animated about things. he's like, I can't believe what you're saying. Like, tell me more. And then, the lady at the end, she's just like, I ruined my perfectly good umbrella. He's just like, oh, I can't believe, like, he's just like so into, like, he's obviously an actor in the movie, but he's got this like energy that I was like, this is crazy. I love it.
One of my favorite characters was Atlee, the guy that plays Memphis's friend in the remake, one of the main thief guys in this one.
Like, he's the one who picks up the car at the first car wash, right? We're just like, oh yeah, no, the guy needs his car early. I got to take the car.
Yeah.
And then, like, from the very clearly, like, just a stoner burnout guy. And then his boss comes over. He's like, where'd the car go? He's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, it was like the actual guy sent to pick up the car. And I also like that he got in the car that had the tiger in it and just runs. That was a really cool thing. And I like that Atlee's... Who plays Atlee in the remake?
That's a very good question.
It's... You know who it is. I can't think of the actor's name.
Atlee is played by Will Patton.
Let me see. Yeah, this guy. You don't know who this is?
You have this movie so burned into your brain. Like, this is like the SVU thing. Like, oh, it's that guy from SVU. It's like, I don't have the context.
Yeah, you know what he's like? He's so stuck in my brain because he's Atlee from Gone in 60 Seconds, and he's also Coach from Remember the Titans. He's both. That's what it is.
Coach Bill Yost.
Yeah, Coach Yost. Yep.
Who is he in American Honey? Is he one of the creepy old guys that picks up Star?
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Backseat. Oh yeah, no, he's backseat. Yeah, he's the one in the back seat with her.
Oh, yuck. That's right.
Like, he's been in huge movies, but yeah, no, I watched Remember the Titans like 100 times when I was little, but I don't remember. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. He's not burned into my brain.
You should remember the Titans.
Mighty, mighty Titans. At one point in this movie, a cop says, "We've got people all over the place," and I was like,
I know.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty on brand.
It was dead on. I agree. I
also do love the receptionist at the Cadillac dealer when she's like just trying to like let the service department know that they've got a phone call, and she's unable to say the word. She's like, telephone service department, just seeing the carnage and the mayhem in front of her. She's like losing her mind. I loved how she was just like reacting. Like, she was an actor, I think, but like just the way that she was reacting to it was like amazing.
I like the phone operator too that was like giving the police directions, like because like she's using like the very like calm dispatcher type voice, right? She's like going westbound 87, and like you see the carnage happening and she just keeps reading off like where he's going and what he's doing. I liked her too.
I got another question for you. What was the point of the Billy car? Like, there's a car where there's like these six...
I have no idea. I was going to ask you the same thing.
6 young black dudes like smoking weed and drinking beers and just like cruising around town. Their car gets beat up as the movie goes on. All movie long, you're thinking that they're going to factor into the chase or that he's going to have to use their car.
They even talk. They're talking amongst themselves and they're talking about Eleanor, and at the end he like knows them. So I don't know if I missed something, but if you missed it too, I don't know what it was. I have no idea.
Because they keep going back to it, and like as far as you can see on screen, like maybe there was a line of dialogue that we missed. It seems to not pay off at all. And at the end, he's like, "So long, Billy." But like, I think they're calling the car Billy, and maybe it's just like a nod to people who named their cars because he's naming cars, but not really. Like, I don't know. The only
other thing I can think is that they're like low-time carjackers. They know each other because they're both like car thieves. But that's a guess. That's not, like, there's no evidence to that.
I just Googled Gone in 60 Seconds, Billy, and there's a thing on hotcars.com that says 20 things that make no sense about Eleanor.
Okay.
Number 1, Billy and his friends know Eleanor.
That's what I'm saying,
During the chase, we spend some time with Billy and his buddies cruising around in his white Cadillac. After a quick moment when Eleanor speeds by him, he swerves and runs into the back of a parked car. Afterwards, we see him still cruising with the beat-up car, talking about going to a party. The name Eleanor gets thrown around in this conversation. Whether they're actually talking about a woman or not is up for speculation.
Okay.
The fact that they talk about Eleanor, though, when it was the car named Eleanor that got them wrecked is a little too coincidental, since no one besides Mandrian's team knows about the cars and their respective nicknames.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what's very weird to me.
I want to go through this because this is funny. Like, number 2, Eleanor is not who you think it is, because that's starring Eleanor. You're like, oh, this must be a beautiful woman, but no, it's just a car. Eleanor's incredible miles per gallon.
Oh yeah, because like even modern Mustangs have 2000s Mustangs had shitty gas mileage. So
yeah, there's no way that like it could have gone for 40 minutes at these high speeds, right? So
yeah, exactly. I have a question for you. A part that I loved but also took me out of the film is that how much does the main guy look like one of the Beastie Boys in the Sabotage music video?
When he's in disguise?
Yes.
So let's talk about that, because...
Okay. I looked it up to see if this was like an influence for Spike Jonze's Sabotage video, and it's not listed as an influence, but like, come on. Is the disguise not exactly the same?
It's very similar. So this is my favorite part of the movie, and I don't know if this is a happy coincidence, but it feels too close. Like it feels like this is part of the plan all along, which is insane. Because like,
What?
how would they know? This entire movie, we have the main guy, Mandrian, who is
Yes.
like this sort of like just imagine a guy in the '70s with like long sideburns and like kind of like wild sort of bushy hair,
Yeah.
and it's just a dude, like a '70s dude, right?
70s dude, yeah.
He is in this disguise where he's got this big black. Do we see him put the disguise on or no?
No, I think he just like is in it.
Do we know that it's him or no?
Yeah, we know that it's him because he's like with another part of the crew. No, he's like with another part of the crew in a car at some point.
He's wearing basically a salt and pepper, like an old man kind of haircut, like a
Yes.
wig, and he's got this big black mustache on. He's got a gray sport coat and black pants.
Yeah.
And they even like make a note over the police radio. Suspect is a guy in his 40s, blah 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 blah, whatever.
Yeah.
Wearing all the stuff, looks like this. And he's driving a yellow Mustang. There's a 40-minute chase, and he finally gets away from the cops. He basically has, essentially, like in Fast Five, they do the safe swap. Like Mia's like, I just bought you a 10-second window, make it count, right? Like he's got like
Yes.
what feels like a minute, right? He's like, the cops, like I cleared away, but like I'm not good, gone for good.
Yeah, they're still on him, but they're just like he just dodged like a couple that were like closest.
And he pulls into another car wash, and he
And there's
gets out.
helicopters too, by the way. So like they
Yes.
know that he's around.
And he pulls into a car wash, and he gets out, and the girl's like, "What happened to your car?" And he says, "Oh, you know valets." And
Yeah,
she's like, "Okay."
damn valet drivers or something like this. And the car's like totaled, right? It's
Yeah,
it's like
it's
an
a
obvious
wreck.
joke. It's like it's fucked. It's not like
And
there's like a
she's like,
scratch on
she's
it.
like, "Whatever. Do you want to wax?" He's like, "No." So then he goes up to this other woman who's like standing by her car, which is also a yellow Eleanor.
Yes,
And he
exactly.
Says, "Is this your
Almost
car?"
exactly the same. Yeah.
And she says yes, and he says, "I'm so sorry, but we need to rewash it. Can you just come follow me into my office?
Go into the office and sit there.
And
Yeah.
we'll take care of it." And she's like, "Oh, I guess so." And so he just gets in the car and drives away.
Yes.
Cops driving by see his car, and
Yeah,
they're
a
like, "We
very
have a
wrecked
suspect here,
yellow
suspect here,
Mustang.
whatever."
Yeah.
And so they come in, and they're like, the surrounding, and then this woman's like, "I don't know what happened." She's talking to a manager of the car dealership. I'm not putting two and two together yet. And she's talking to the manager,
Oh, you
and
weren't?
she's
Okay.
just like, he just took my car, and like I thought he was the manager. She's well, the guy's like, "But I'm the manager, whatever, right?" He's like, "But where's your car?" And then she sees the destroyed car come through, and she faints. And so then the cops all pull up, and they see the manager, who I did not realize, but is
A 40-year-old
man in his
man.
40s with gray and black hair,
Yep.
in a gray coat,
Yep.
in black pants,
Yep.
and they're like, "We got him," and they arrest this guy. While we then see Mandrian take off his wig, take off his mustache, change his jacket, like basically beginning of Drive when Gosling pulls into the parking lot
Yep.
and then reverses his jacket, puts the baseball cap on. Subtle things, but he's a different man now. Even stops at a police checkpoint and is fine. I'm like, that level of detail. Like, I don't know how you know that there's going to be a yellow Eleanor. Maybe it was never the case. I don't know, but like, I don't understand how
That
that
can't be
happens.
planned. It can't be planned.
How do you look exactly like the manager? Unless that's like every manager of a car wash looks like this, but that also
I
feels
guess.
crazy. Like it's insane. Like whatever the reasoning is, it's my favorite thing in this movie, and maybe my favorite thing in like any movie in a while, because it's just like it's such a weird, hyper specific coincidence, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, and it's not even like, oh, this is so weird that it's not believable. It plays too. It tracks. So I agree. I enjoyed that part a lot.
I think that's all the notes that I had from this movie. There's a radio DJ who's been in, we've seen that in a lot of different
Yeah.
movies we've covered. They're also playing pool at one point.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything else that you noticed about this, or do you want to compare this to The Italian Job?
No, but I have a really cool fast connection that I know that you didn't catch. As they're showing all the cars that they had stolen, right, and they're all like lined up in the like that warehouse. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
You know which is one of the cars of the 48 that they stole?
No, what's that?
A Jensen Interceptor,
Ooh.
the same car that Letty is driving.
Oh, and actually, weirdly, that car is nicknamed Betty.
Oh.
Betty and Letty.
Betty and Letty. Very cool.
I have a list here of all the car names. There's 48, all the cars stolen, all the car names. There's a Citroen, which we just talked about recently.
Yeah,
They
Citroen.
steal a Lamborghini Mira.
They do? That's cool.
Then we have Donna, Karen, Marilyn, Judy, Kathy, Nancy, Terry, Diane, Christy, Patty, Marion, Janet, Annie, Maxine, Claudia, Leona, Ruth, Sandy, Lori, Patricia, Tracy, Kelly, Rosie, Dorothy, Eleanor, of course,
Yeah.
Martha, Beverly, Jean, Betty, Joanne, Carrie, Mary, Dory, Frances, Maria, Sharon, Ruby, Michelle, Susan, Alice, Paula, Julie, Renee, Jackie, Eileen, Elizabeth, Lorna, and Nicole.
Whew. I wonder if they used all the same names. Like, I wonder if they used the same woman's names in the remake.
I know these all feel kind of like 70s women.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But Eleanor, they kept that name, so
But I mean, they kept that name because
it's Eleanor,
you know.
yeah.
Actually, speaking of the remake, so while only basic plot elements are shared with the original, one is the location of the final car. Eleanor was parked at the International Towers in Long Beach, I guess in both movies.
Ah, that's right. He even says it in the remake. That makes sense, yeah.
In the script for the remake, there was a point where Nicolas Cage was going to put on a disguise to make him look like an old man to go steal Eleanor, which is exactly how.
He should have. That was a fumbled really hard right there.
So, okay, so let's compare this to the Italian Job. I was very clear in the last episode that I loved the original Italian Job, and I
loved
liked
it.
the new one even less than I already did, and I
I liked
didn't
the new
like it
one.
very much.
Yeah,
But like, it's a totally different movie. I mean, it's
totally
fun, it's
different.
funny. The remake is again a glossier, slicker version of this.
But I think it does some things better.
It does a lot of things better, I think. I
Okay,
think that this
good.
is it's a totally different movie. This is kind of like a low budget B movie, like a grindhousey movie, whereas the Italian Job is like this is like more to your words
Blockbuster.
film.
Yeah, but it's a more of a blockbuster feel too, right? But they kind of like suss out a lot of the things. Like the 40-minute car chase scene is really cool, and I'm never against car chase scenes, but it feels like it's a really cool music video in the middle of a movie. Like, because we just like pretty much stop the story while we just chase this car for 40 minutes, right?
Well, I mean, the story isn't even really a story. The story is like we're just stealing cars. Like it. This movie, I think, was
Yeah.
made to showcase this car chase, right? It's just like
Exactly. That's
we're
what I'm
stealing
saying.
cars.
It feels like this is just like around, like a way to build stuff around a really cool car chase scene.
And actually, one thing that I don't like about the new movie that I wonder if that it plays into this, like the structure of the original, is that you think about Gone in 60 Seconds, like, oh, it's the movie where they steal 50 cars, right? Like, if there's all
Yes.
this action. The car theft in that movie, in the remake, is only like 15 minutes. Like, the final chase is long, but there's like a long, long, long stretch of the remake where they're not stealing cars.
There is, but they definitely steal a lot more cars in the remake than they do in this one.
You see a lot more, yeah, but it's all compressed to like a 10 or 15 minute window. Like they have like they send like the 6 or 7 teams out and they just show all these things, and then that's when we cut to like Sway and Memphis like outside the house, and they're watching the couple have sex, and they're about to have sex or whatever, right?
Yep.
Like, so like there's more like that, but like what you think about like as an action movie, as a car movie, there's a lot of character building, which I think sets it very clearly apart from this original, where like again, I think part of the reason I was having trouble connecting to some of it, other than just like it doesn't give a shit about the story really, like we
No, it
heard
doesn't.
there's no script, right? But like the mixing was also throwing me off, so I was trying to like my brain was having a hard time following what was going on. They're just like, oh, whatever, just like, you know, I'm an insurance adjuster or what. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But do you think, I mean, and I know that you've seen the new one a bunch more times, you've seen this one once, but I think I like the remake more. Do you like the remake more than this, or
Hands down.
or you think, or is it too difficult to compare?
No, hands down, I like the remake more than this.
Okay.
And I didn't expect that to happen. We were on such a good run of all these great classic car movies. You know, I was like, oh, I'm sure that they took some cool elements, but they took like the best elements of this film, polished it, made it like a more complete movie, and I think they really did it justice and did it right. So I can't complain about the remake for a lot of the things that it did. I'm actually impressed. It makes me like the remake more. As much as the original Italian Job made you like the remake less, this makes me like the remake more.
I would agree with that. I think that's a very good point. I was actually thinking that while watching this movie. Between the Italian Jobs, there's no comparison. Like, out of 100 times, I will watch the original 100
I
times.
like both, and I think that the original is great.
Of this one, if I'm watching just Gone in 60 Seconds 10 times, I'll probably watch maybe like a 7-3 split or something. Like, I'll like lean
It would be
more
like
towards
9
the
and
remake.
1. It will be 9 and 1 for me.
7-3, 8-2. Yeah, it's like where I want to watch the new one a lot more, but like there's something cool about this where like
It feels
there's nothing.
gritty. I like that. The feel of it is nice. The grittiness, the realness. It definitely shone through.
I do really want to watch the original version of it. Like I want to go on eBay and find like a VHS of this and like watch the original, like with the proper sound.
Yeah, like let's go get one. I'll come visit and we'll watch it together.
Yeah, it's similar in a way to the Dirty Mary Crazy Larry, like that movie referenced twice in Death
Yeah.
Proof. Like I feel like Tarantino endorsing a movie is not always a good thing. Like we can see why he likes something, but like Dirty Mary Crazy Larry is like, oh, this is cool, but this isn't necessarily like a great movie. Whereas like I guess it's also the thing where like he'll probably never be like, oh, American Graffiti, I love that movie, but like he probably does. He's just not talking about it, right? For any
Yeah.
number of reasons, like because he wants to seem more niche or whatever, or just because like he genuinely likes these more. I don't know.
I think that he has a lot more context than even we have. I know that you watch a ton more
Sure.
movies than I do, but I'm sure that he spent, like you can see it, that he spent like a ton of time watching just a ton of different movies. In the same sense that we like seeing something different and new on screen, he just has more context for that. So if he likes like car movies or car chase movies, and he has like the scope and the history, I'm sure that that's why he lends himself to these a lot more. I'm sure that he knows all the trivia, that this was all real and stuff like that. So he's like, oh, it's so cool. Like, look, he shot this movie and nobody else knew it was going on. Look at this person's reaction in the side. Like, you can't get that shot otherwise. So
Right.
that's cool. But it doesn't mean it's a good movie, like you're saying. Like, that's not like an endorsement.
I think the thing to keep in mind is that for every Gone in 60 Seconds that we watch, there's probably 10 or 20 or 50 movies that wanted to be this from the 70s that just
Flopped.
not even flopped, but just like didn't stand the test of time. Like it's just like there might be cool things in there, but these are the ones that are remembered because of something like whether it's the car chase or whether it's just everything about the Italian Job or whatever, right? Or like Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry,
Bullet,
like
the camera shots in Bullet, which would have
Yep.
been really nice in this movie, right? If we would have got like
Yeah.
more behind the backseat camera shots type thing.
Halfway through the slap, aside from the fact that like I regretted that we goofed on episode 88 for a couple different reasons, but
Yes.
halfway through the slap, I was like, I wonder if we should have, and I was like, it doesn't matter because I like the way that it panned out, but I think there would have been merit to like going through and like not doing different movies, like doing the same movies that we did, but going through them chronologically, so we can sort of see the evolution of car movies through history.
That's fair. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think that there is value to that, although I don't know that we necessarily need to, because I don't know how much like H.B. Halicki is watching the other movies that came before. It's like I'm sure he has, but I don't know how much is directly influencing. Being able to bounce around is a little bit cooler. Like even in my OCD, like everything should be planned. I kind of like just being able to be like, oh, like let's go here next or whatever. But I did specifically this week. I wanted to do the Italian Job first because it came before this one. Like I consciously put that, but like these movies again could not be more different. I'm sure I would guess H.B. Halicki saw the Italian Job,
Yeah.
but I don't know that I don't know that it influenced him at all. Maybe in ways that we don't notice, but it's not like he's like lifting things.
No.
Not in Tarantino ways, but it's not like he's doing things, kind of a refined, like a almost James Bond versus like a Gosling in The Place Beyond the Gauze, right? We're just like a guy in a motorcycle helmet just robbing a bank. It's like this elegant heist versus just like fucking smash and grab, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think there would be something interesting because, like, if you think about the early 70s, like, Two Lane Blacktop was like 71, right? Like, Vanishing
Yeah.
Point's right around this time. They all kind of feel of a certain kind of ilk.
They're definitely related. I'm glad that we're watching them as quickly as we are because we can definitely, like, they're all fresh in my head for different reasons. I think that we're doing it justice by comparing them side
Yeah.
by side by side by side at least, even if they're not in chronological order.
I think there's a benefit to doing that for like these themes. I think when we're watching like Paul Walker movies, it's like he's Brian. Like it's you can see Brian. Like we don't have to watch
Yeah.
2 movies a week or whatever to see. Oh, this is Brian in a different movie. This is Brian in a different movie. Like we're just seeing like it's a different thing altogether. It's what Mike and I do in all the different podcasts. It's what you and I have done
Yeah.
for Zac Efron and everything like that. But when you see themes and it's like different, like everything is different except for like there's cool old cars in them or whatever, right? Like you can see all these different ways that they're all
Linked.
overtly or subtly influencing each other and linking. Yeah, exactly. So
I'm glad that we did a lot of movies. The pandemic actually did us a favor here.
I think so too.
I think that it's better that we covered a lot of them and like we're still missing a ton and we're going to miss a ton, but at the same time like we're doing a nice scope of all of the really famous ones, right?
If we had not doubled up, like we still probably would have covered this. We still would have covered the original Italian Job, I'm guessing. But I don't know that we would have done Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry.
No.
I don't know that we would have done.
Two Lane Blacktop.
No, Two Lane Blacktop was a patron pick. We would have done that.
Okay, yeah,
But like,
yeah.
I don't know that we would have done
Death
like
Proof.
Death Proof. We probably wouldn't have. My Cousin Vinny. We probably wouldn't have.
No.
Movies that we have coming up. I think a lot of the ones that we have that I'm excited about that are going to do in the back half of the slap, back third of the slap, whatever. I don't think that a lot of these we would have gotten to just because it doesn't feel as quote unquote important as like Bullet, right? But
Yep.
like they're all worth seeing, I think. I hope.
I think so. I'm glad that we're seeing them. It's going to be a really interesting next lap of Too Fast, like the real Fast and the Furious movies, right?
Yeah.
Like watching them through this lens.
Yep. I also think that like if we were doing like not that we are because it doesn't make sense, but if we were watching all the Tarantino movies, like even movies that aren't about cars, even movies that aren't Death Proof, right? It could be like it would almost be like okay, we got to do like an entire lap about cars and an entire lap about like samurai
Samurais.
movies.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And
Westerns.
Then, yep, and be like, oh, okay, here's this and here's this and here's
Black
this.
exploitation movies, a whole
Yep.
lap about that, and then you'd be like, oh, okay.
That's actually a really good podcast idea, I think.
Like just all the influence ones.
It's the format of this, but each lap through is you're just doing a different genre that he loves and lifts from.
Interesting.
It's less focused than this,
It's way less focused, yeah.
but I also think
But it
it's
could work.
as focused.
It could work.
And also, I think there's a very hungry fan base for that, too, so...
That's true. Very true.
If this was our full-time job, if we were getting paid more than what we're making on Patreon right now, it would be cool to do that, like, side by side. Like, just do, like, two Too Fast, Two Forevers a week, and two Tarantino things a week, and just, like, the same shit, and, like, there'd be so much cross-pollination.
2 Tarantino, 2 Forever.
2 Q, 2 T, 2 Q...
QT, and then pi, like the symbol pi. Because it goes on forever. It's infinite.
An irrational podcast about...
Irrational, infinite podcast about Quentin Tarantino. QT pi.
Because you know the pi is an irrational number, so, yeah.
See?
Any other thoughts about Gone in 60 Seconds, or do you want to look ahead to next week, which we have to announce?
Oh, man, I don't know if you have the ear for it, too, but I think one of the songs that was playing in the movie, and now that you told me the song thing, I don't know how relevant this is, but one of the songs that was playing in this movie, I think, is the sample that Snoop Dogg uses for Gin and Juice.
Oh, okay.
Like, the beat was, like, a sample that they sped up and, like, bassed up. And, like, I was listening to it, and I was like, what is this song? What is this song? And I was like, oh, I think it's from Gin and Juice. Who knows if it's in the real one, or if this was an add-in or something like that, too. So, if you watch this movie and you recognize the thing that sounded like Gin and Juice, let me know if you agree.
And like we said, this movie is on Amazon Prime. It's on, I think, Vudu Movies. Like, so if you don't have Prime, I think you can watch on Vudu Movies for free, probably with ads. Again, if you're only watching this or Italian Job, I would say watch the Italian Job.
Yeah, definitely.
You could also probably, if you wanted to, just skip to 55 minutes in, just watch the last 40 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
It's cool. I think what's nice about the chase in this movie is that it feels real. I mean, it's what was causing you anxiety. But I think the fact that it feels real, that it's like, oh no, this doesn't seem like a movie. This feels like we're watching a car get chased by cops through LA, right? Like,
yeah.
So watch the Italian Job and then watch the last 40 of this. Also, this movie's not very long. It's like they're both like an hour and a half, right?
Yeah, they're short. We're getting that classic movie range where it's like hour 40 and you're in and out.
Yeah, movies either used to be like 90 minutes or 3 hours. There's no in between. It's just like...
Amen.
But next week, we are doing, of course, on Tuesday, Furious 7. So back to the 2F grind, the Fast and Furious grind, Furious 7 with a guest. And then on Friday, we are doing our final patron pick this lap. This is Jake's pick. This is a movie that I think... I messaged you before, and I was like, do you mind if we swap this? Because I think that after a little bit of a disappointment in this one, I kind of wanted to go to something familiar.
Fine.
Right? Just be like, I want to see something that I know that I love, aside from just Furious 7. But I was like, okay, we talked about it before. We teased it on episode 88. We are doing, on Friday, Back to the Future.
We had a long discussion on whether or not that's considered a car movie, and we accepted it. We think that that's a good pick. We'll talk about Back to the Future in, normal Too Fast, Too Forever contextings.
Which family member is Doc? Which family member is Marty?
Who would be most likely to go back in time and gamble on sports things? Who knows?
Roman.
Yeah, Roman for sure.
But also, at the end of the day, if somebody is paying us on Patreon and they suggest a movie, we're probably going to err on the side of, yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so on Tuesday, Furious 7. On Friday, Back to the Future. I think
excited.
Everybody's listening to this has probably seen both of those movies, but if you want to watch again, join along with us. We've also got something special coming up. We're going to have a little bit more details soon.
Yes.
But stay tuned for that. But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at Too Fast, Too Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. We know this week has been a blur of people who we don't really know, who we haven't heard from, reaching out on social media and stuff. So if you have not written
and they have
yet,
context. We were talking about this. Like, we've been getting messages and little tidbits from different people that are like using the words that we use. So like we know that they've at least been following enough to like listen. Send us an email. Let us know who you are.
family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon at toofast2forever.com. Like we said, there's a new welcome post up there. Take the quiz if you haven't yet. Check out the minute document if you haven't yet. If you're not a patron, you want access to those, even $1 a month, or if you want to go more and get stickers or movie choices or an entire lap choice, all at toofast2forever.com. I'm still worried. Like I'm going to be excited, but I'm also worried when someone does that lap thing and be like, oh boy, it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
we're doing whatever you want. So again, I don't doubt that any of our patrons, any of our listeners are not great people, but I'm also still worried to be like, okay, this is 5 months of our life that we're doing that, you're basically controlling us for, in the end, even
lifetime
if you
movies.
just 5
Please
months.
Lifetime movies. Please Lifetime movies.
Oh boy. How does identity theft of a cheerleader tie into Too Fast, Too Forever? Also, by the way, your episode with Brian is out now. It's
fun.
not today's episode of High School Slumber Party, but it came out on Monday, so check that out.
Joey reminded me that we talk a lot about bonking in that episode.
Bonk! Like we said, in 2 weeks, check out Foodie Films for your episode with Rachel on Mystic Pizza. Also, check out, just if you want even more Mystic Pizza, which is not a thing that I would ever say on this podcast, I never thought I would say on this podcast, go back to Not Her Again, where Michael DeManico and I talked about Julia Roberts. So check that out. It's fun. Plus, Michael's podcast is great anyway, so I think you should check that out. He was great on here.
He was great. He was great on here, for sure.
I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And we'll see you next time right here on Too Fast, Too Forever. Peace out, you anus.